Hello, lovely.
Aivan, Vanakkam, welcome, wherever you all are around the world. I am Menuri Kodikara, Minister of Poverty of Sri Lanka, Sustainable Development Goals, Children's Parliament of Sri Lanka, and I will be your host this evening. Firstly, we will begin with our traditional welcome from the children across the world. And please do send us any other language we are missing, and we will add you to the message. Thank you.
Zimbabwe, tinokwazai, tichiti, moroi, makadini, kwazai. Habari zenu. Digi areno, digi areno, digi areno, digi areno, digi areno, digi areno, digi areno. Marhaban ya ahlan maghrib.
Habari zenu.
All the way from England. From England.
Kuti.
Hello. Agandi. Kojeyo.
Oryota.
Everyone, we are from Sri Lanka. Aivan. Vanakkam, Sri Lanka. Sisi watoto kutoka Kenya tunasalimia jambo Kenya bure.
Thank you and welcome everyone to the conference today. Please contribute to the chat and we will do our best to answer your questions. Please show your appreciation for the speakers who have really given their time today by using the clapping and thumbs up icons on Zoom or writing in the chat box. And now to officially open the forum, we are delighted to welcome Dr. Sir Deshapriya Wijetunge, who is Ambassador of Peace and the Director General of Sri Lanka United Nations Friendship Organization. Welcome His Highness Dr. Sir Deshapriya.
But if at all we get
Sir, I think you need to unmute. Sorry to say, sir. Dr. Deshapriya, we'd like to invite you to speak, sir.
Hello, yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir. Please speak.
Aivan, Vanakkam, greetings from SUNFO. I am happy and privileged to be with you in this global children conference organized by the SUNFO Global Federation, International Children's Wing, the Chairwoman, Madam Linda Rose, and her able team and all the speakers in the different parts of the world. It is a very rainy, thundering a day after evening in Sri Lanka now. I think it's still my voice is clear with the sound of the rain around. So it is very important we take the Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030 focusing children. So this workshop series, now it's the second, now focusing the goal, the good health and well-being. And it's very, very important goal of the lives. All the human beings, especially during this Corona COVID-19 pandemic. The progress of the Sustainable Development Goals severely affected this unplanned, even never expected pandemic. Already we have completed 5 years. It is yet to go for this one more decade, the 10 years. It's named as the SDG action decade because the world has spent more time, knowledge, energy, resources for planning on SDGs during last 5 years, getting awareness of SDGs during last 5 years, getting reviewing of achieving indicators in last 5 years. But now the remaining 10 years, the SDG action decade, all have to work towards achieving the SDGs through many actions, activities, and involvements. The decade of SDG action decade, it will go, yes, just started now, 3 months over. Now we have 9 months, we have 9 years and 9 months ahead. I am sure this the SUNFO Global Federation International Children's Wing has clearly identified and dedicated in this 9 months, 9 years, the period going ahead in the action decade to do their best to raise the voices of children through the SDG Agenda 23. The world of 23 more belongs to the children, younger generation. They have to get the outcome of what we do in coming 10 years. Whether we need a better world or we will give them a future in danger. That's all depend on how the world progressive towards SDG Agenda 2030. This is the only policy agenda agreed by almost all the UN member nations, agreed by all leaders of the apart from heads of states, religious leaders, social leaders, corporate leaders, community leaders, as well as not specified all segments. So achieving SDGs can't do along with governments. It's need the combined effect of the governments, civil society, corporate sector, the professionals, also each and every child, youth, women, citizen in this world. So while wishing you all the best for this very timely, thematic, meaningful Zoom conference getting together, will be helpful to take another step forward in our journey towards achieving SDGs. SUNFO is a non-political, non-racial, non-sectarian organization working for peace, harmony, and well-being of mankind according to the principles of United Nations. And the SUNFO was inaugurated almost 22 years ago in 1999, 22nd May. Now the SUNFO first inaugural was held in the city of Colombo in Sri Lanka, under the patronage of the Honorable Speaker of the Parliament of Sri Lanka, then the Honorable late Dr. K.B. Ratnayaka, who was a person who could speak all three languages, English, Sinhala, Tamil, in Sri Lanka. Also, our founder president, Dr. Baptist Cruz, who is able to speak 11 languages and was a good communicated link to take the stake SUNFO forward to the world. So now, once the SUNFO completes its journey of 2 decades, where the over 1 million had participated the SUNFO activities, programs, mobilizations, even including the world's largest some mobilizations, the 2 Guinness records, the SUNFO became a global organization, and wings for 4 segments: Children's Wing, SUNFO International Children's Wing, SUNFO International Youth Wing, SUNFO International Women's Wing, and SUNFO International Citizens Wing, established and expanded to all 7 continents in the world. As a people's voluntary movement, now I am happy with the able, dedicated, committed leadership of Madam Linda Rose, taking over the SUNFO International Children's Wing as its chairwoman, trying in different ways and approaching in different ways to build the SUNFO International Children's Wing for a better world of the future generations, the children of this world. So thank you very much, and wishing you all the best to have a very great conference today. All the best for all, and appreciate all who are behind this, the comparing the world's first SDG Children's Parliament of Parliament created in Sri Lanka. It's the Minister of Goal 1, no poverty, as well as all the other facilitators, guest speakers, and also the resource persons and participants in this conference. Have a great conference. Wish you all the best once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for your helpful words in opening today's forum. Our next speech was supposed to be from my colleagues and members of the Sri Lanka SDG Children's Parliament, Ministry of Health, who are responsible for the Sustainable Development Goals number 3, which we are going to look at today. But unfortunately, due to a cyclone which happened in their area, they're living, Ms. Dulanji Abesekara and Ms. Dwini Tihara are unable to attend our forum today. So, Chairperson of International Children's Wing SUNFO, Madam Linda Ross, will introduce you all the goal number 3 on behalf of them. And she will also greet you with some useful information for navigating the forum and keeping safe. Madam Linda?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you, Sir Dr. Deshapriya Wijetunge, sir. We're very pleased to have welcomed you to open our conference, and thank you for your presence. I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you so much from all over the world. We're so happy we have so many representations from different countries. We're very sorry to lose our the health speakers who are from the Children's Parliament's Sustainable Development Goals Parliament of Sri Lanka. As Sachintha said, there's a storm, and this is also part of the global warming, as we see we see it in action around us, as we have representations from different countries and we have different weather and different problems in different countries. So this is the SDG3, which is the good health and well-being. And I'm delighted to say we have many different speakers. This is a very important topic, especially now, as we understand health is on the front of everybody's mind, thinking about COVID-19 and about the pandemic. And COVID has in some ways leveled us, in some ways made everybody have the same problem, but it has also in some ways actually highlighted inequality, where some nations have better infrastructure, better finances to support workers who can't work because of lockdowns, and others are really struggling to keep their economy going, to be able to provide vaccinations. And in places of conflict where everybody is strained already, there is even more stress and strain providing these things and being able to access vaccinations. So we see almost very clearly through a slice of life with COVID, the whole range of issues that the world is facing. Now, today we are looking at several different topics under health. We're very mindful about mental health, which is often the little brother or sister of health in terms of everybody's economy. The money that goes into mental health, psychiatric care and well-being actually is very, very small compared with how much goes into physical health. And yet we know that they're partnered. You know, physical and mental health go together. And so we need to really focus on mental health issues and well-being issues, and to challenge the stigma that there is in many different places. So we're starting the conference with physical health as much as we can, looking at COVID with our wonderful speaker, Dr. Gobith Ratnasingam, who has been at the forefront of the fight against COVID in Sri Lanka. We're looking at physical health in terms of issues that particularly affect adolescent and young people. So we're going to be looking at sexuality. We're going to be looking at some of the things that plague some societies like HIV, AIDS, sexually transmitted diseases. Now, I'm aware that this is a conference for children. So we are aware that children goes up to 18, but it also goes down to a young age. So please be aware that we will be discussing these things and that we have some young speakers to talk about those. So if you have young children, be mindful of that. But if you have teenagers, please, this is a really useful topic, especially when sometimes as parents, I know myself, we're a little shy to talk to our own children about these issues. This may also be a matter that may upset some people, because it can be that some people have had their own issues, and this can trigger some issues. If somebody's had a bad experience, if somebody's been attacked, we are very conscious that when we're talking about these issues, for some people, it's like an academic interest. For other people, this is deep and involves their lives, their families, and their person. So if you feel triggered, if you feel upset, please don't just go away and keep it to yourself. There are many people on this forum. You can chat on the chat box if you feel like being open. There are helplines. We have put helplines up The Sri Lankan number is 1929. That is the childline number for Sri Lanka. And then we're also advertising the Child Helpline International. This is a website. And on that website, you can put the name of your country into that, and it will show you what help there is available in your area. We are ending the forum with some wonderful uplifting workshops by a wonderful American group. They're partnering together, and again, our very own, one of my good friends, having worked together on many different mental health issues in times of trauma, Curtis Sony, who's going to make sure we leave on a very positive feeling. So it may well be a long workshop, but we just don't want to miss anything that is really important. We're going to be looking at HIV and AIDS. I'm going to be talking out of my experience as a drugs counsellor about issues about drugs and substance. So thank you very much. I hope you find this journey fascinating. We want to thank our people who've been helping, and especially I want to pass you back to Sachintha. And I want to tell you that she's a very special person as well, and she has actually been extremely helpful at putting this together. Not only is she the Minister of No Poverty in the Children's Parliament in Sri Lanka, she is also a master, an international master of chess, which shows a great mathematical brain. She was awarded the global the local teen hero award in Sri Lanka in 2020. And she was also awarded the Guy Joseph Ale Memorial Award. And she was the youngest women's, I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, FIDE master in Sri Lanka, and Asian, West Asian and Commonwealth medalist for her chess. So we are very privileged, Sachintha. You're not just hosting us, but we're very privileged to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Madam Linda Rose. And we are now really pleased to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Gobith Ratnasingam, who is recognized internationally and has been invited to speak at various international conferences, including many held in Sri Lanka, as well as United States of America, Pakistan, Korea, India, Australia, and Bangladesh. And now as the Sri Lankan executive of World Organization of Family Doctors, the Working Party of Rural Practice, Dr. Gobith also co-founded the Center for Children's Happiness, which is an excellent grassroots organization working with vulnerable children and families in the northeast of Sri Lanka, providing holistic health for health and well-being, as well as he is the co-founder of the Forum of Rural Community Empowerment. Dr. Gobith is one of our local heroes in Negombo Hospital, and with his colleagues successfully managed several outbreaks without any deaths for many months. Therefore, is an ideal person to present information to us about children and COVID. Welcome, Dr. Gobith.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll go for that. Good evening, everyone. So topic is health and well-being of children during COVID pandemic. I have put this picture purposefully about this iceberg, because when we look at that, people always think about only the COVID infection or disease, but there are a lot of topics are unspoken, maybe not touched much given the weight of that. So we will touch bit because that time frame, we will touch something like psychological and mental health issues, and poverty, malnutrition, and food insecurity, and these terms of routine child care, child development, and holding at this immunization program as well. Violence against children during the COVID, and some promising COVID vaccine and preventive measures. We will go little by briefly. First, we talk about the COVID infection in children. Many thought maybe children have less infection or less getting the contracted less in the percentage, but from the statistics we can see under the 18 years old they are get around 10% of the total population who got virus. So we have the considerable number of the cases. So we have to give the much weight on the children as well. Even death-wise, we have the better less amounts. That's our the promising news. Still, we have to be more care or more on the children. Then we'll go about this COVID-19 infection is one of the complication and all. But from the symptom wise, normally we're supposed to get it like a cough, cold, and sore throat like a symptom with the fever and all. But we have to consider about the children's maybe a bit different. We have seen a lot of cases like in the picture about the children's clinical picture with a different way. They may not having the traditional respiratory symptoms, but they will normally get with a fever, with some other abdominal pain, vomiting, diarrhea, like a gastrointestinal symptom rather than the respiratory, with some other asymptomatic or maybe the unusual pattern. But still we have to mind it, because not all the children or all the people get the symptom. Some are even 40% of the people are or children are maybe not asymptomatic with the virus. So as a children, maybe caregiver, maybe parents, or everyone should know about the little bit about at least about the symptom, maybe with the change of the symptom, especially if the continent, maybe the eastern side of the world having the different side of symptom, because they have more with the fever or non-respiratory symptom, maybe in the west part maybe have some different. So we should know about that. With that, we always think about the physical health and disease and all. More than that, we have big weight of that mental health issues. So we should know about what is going on through, because that without lockdown and isolation, fear of infection, all lead to the depression or anxiety and without the consequence. So a lot of measures has to be taken, already taken by the officials with all the different children's school, maybe with the neonates and toddler, maybe the school children and adolescent, where the different project and different interventions are there, how to minimize the psychosocial issues and all. These mental health issues further aggravated by this myths and rumor or misinformation. You all know, as I told, previously, the children may not getting the virus like that, but still we have a lot of considerable number of children are getting virus as well. Sometimes we will talk about, maybe people will talk about the hot climate may not favor to the virus, but these are the misinformation. So we should know and get the correct information and be live in the fearless world. With the psychological changes further aggravated by this school closure, learning crisis. Because of that, we are losing the academic part of the life, because that is the one of the enjoyable life in the childhood. As well, they are losing the social interaction. In additionally, burdened with this that online education. You all know, because all are not a favor for the online education in the world. You may surprise, more than 60 to 70% of children are not getting even the online education. So this additional burden come to the children's mind. So these are all are affecting this mental health issues. And additionally, you know that from the low and middle income countries, around 40% of children are getting additionally decent amount of food during this lockdown and school closure. From this picture, from that, the UNICEF has estimated 168 million children are losing or not attending school due to the COVID. Then further, we have talked about the physical and mental issue, but further about this, all the assessment of children's or healthcare or the routine immunization program are halted because of this lockdown and all the COVID consequence. You all know that. Normally the first 1,000 days of life, that means the first 5 years lives are better for the development and growth. So we will have the more concern on them to care about them frequently and giving the much of vaccine, around the 15 to 20 type of vaccine to prevent the infection, the other infection. But due to the pandemic, we are losing to contacting or maybe disturbed by the all the program. Because of that, here UNICEF has again mentioned 80 million children under 1 year from the several 68 countries missing the receiving vaccine. Also, they mentioned over the 2 million of additional children may will die within coming 12 months because of the all COVID complication with the without care of all the good child care. With that one, further, this lockdown may be about the loss of work, the pay, all lead to the poverty, and it eventually lead to the malnutrition. So it's a further burden to the physical health and all the other health-related issues. So in addition, that food insecurity means like about the all the supply chain has affected. Maybe difficult to get the essential thing or essential food, nutrition, and everything. So it further aggravates the all the physical law in the all the well-being of children. So now we talk about the health, but further the children are more affected by this violence. We heard about a lot of cases reported from the all over the world. You have mentioned here 68 of countries reported disturbance of in violence against children during the COVID era. So as we are the in the society member of towards the children, maybe child right activities are here in the group. So we should raise our voice to minimize or end the violence against the children, because children are isolated place and lockdown, so it will further aggravate it. So we have to educate the parents who are the prepared, and we have to, and especially the children should know how to avoid this unfavorable situation and all. With that, we know. So now we got only one way to get rid of this deadly virus with a vaccine. But do we have cover to the children? Because we know the most of the vaccine are now produced and on the market or using. Ola, they are giving above 18 years old because they have done all the researches and all the trials above the 18 years old. So because of that, the children's population are lacking to get a vaccine. But we have some promising news. One of the prominent vaccine producers are already started the vaccinating above 16 years, and another two producers are already started the trials to start the vaccination 11 years or beyond. So we will hope we will get the coverage to the children as well, like others, and we will get a full or maybe with the cover immunity or coverage or that transmission less compared to non-vaccinated people. With that one, always we have to talk about, because I have talked about these main challenges as well. The prevention is always better than cure. So we should know about our preventive measures. So wearing the proper mask and hand washing and avoid the crowded places and social distancing. These are some instruction, but I think we can talk in the meeting or in some of the speakers will talk about the hand washing technique and all. And these are some posters you can create and you can give it to the certain places like this. This is one of the posters we have put it in the local language in Jaffna. So finally, we will end with our brief lecture with we hope we will kick off this deadly virus in the collective measures. So from the reference, this is one of the interim guidelines about the COVID. I am the proud contributor of that. Even I have written about the chapter of children as well. You can catch me any question or queries through the Gobith at email or even the chat box. I think hope we can meet another day and discuss with the topic with lengthily. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gobith, for that informative presentation. And we are now pleased to have other medical specialists with us today from Palestine and from Tanzania. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Abdullah Abu Halal, the lead practitioner in Abu Dis Clinic in Eastern Jerusalem, which is outside the separation wall from Jerusalem city. And he will present about the specific difficulties living in an occupied area that is faced by Palestinian doctors, especially in the time of COVID-19. Welcome, Dr. Abdullah.
I think maybe we'll move on, and I'll see if I can check that he's had the joining instructions. Thank you.
Yes. So going forward with our forum, it is important that we remember those in difficulties, and that is one of the important features of our forum. Most of us young women take for granted access to sanitary health products for periods. But in many places, they are not freely available, and this can make a massive difference in the way they have to live their lives. Frida Didas and Grace John are part of the Tambua Utu Foundation, and they are talking about the menstrual health management, its taboos and stigma. They are speaking in Swahili, so we hope you can read the translation.
Naitwa Grace John, natoka shule sekondari Moshi.
Kwa majina naitwa Frida Didas, natokea shule sekondari.
Hedhi salama, moja katika pointi ya hedhi salama, mtazamo katika jamii. Mtazamo katika jamii, mara nyingi watu wanaangalia mila potofu. Mfano, unakuta mtoto wa kike anafua kitambaa chake, anahitaji kuanika juani kwa sababu ya mila potofu katika jamii, anaogopa. Aona kama ataonwa, jamii hairuhusu, kwa anakuwa na ile hofu inamjengea, hajiamini na kuhifadhi kitambaa chake ndani, anashindwa kuanika nje kwa sababu ya mila zao potofu.
Jamii inaamini kwamba mtoto wa kike anapoweza kushika jani lolote, yani mfano mboga za majani, dawa za asili, mchaichai, ana uwezekano wa kukausha hicho kitu. Kwa jamii inapochukulia hivyo, inatufanya sisi watoto wa kike tunakuwa hatuwezi kujiamini.
Pointi ya pili katika hedhi salama kiafya. Afya ni muhimu sana katika watoto wa kike. Inatubidi tuzingatie afya. Katika afya, mtoto wa kike anakosa maji. Kukosa maji kunampelekea mtoto wa kike kutokuwa na afya nzuri. Maji hayo mtoto wa kike atashindwa kuoga, atatoa harufu chafu. Maji hayo yanamsaidia kufua kitambaa chake ambacho kinamstiri akiwa katika hedhi. Kwa hiyo kiafya inatakiwa tuwe na maji. Mtoto wa kike hawezi kupata maji ili aweze kumiliki vitu ambavyo vinamstahili akiwa katika hedhi. Kingine kuna kuwashwa. Katika afya unakuta mtoto wa kike anatumia pedi kwa muda mrefu, anawashwa. Kwa hiyo yani ni muhimu sana kuzingatia afya. Mtoto wa kike anakaa na pedi kwa muda mrefu kwa sababu anashindwa kupata kile kitu ambacho anakihitaji, hana pesa. Kwa inabidi atunze matumizi kwa sababu hana pesa na mlazimu kukaa na pedi kwa muda mrefu, inamsababishia kuwashwa, fangasi na pia mchubuko. Kwa ni muhimu sana tuzingatie afya katika mtoto wa kike.
Naona pia katika swala la afya kwa mtoto wa kike, pedi ambazo zinauzwa madukani, watoto wa kike hao wanaweza tunapata fungus kwa sababu pedi zile zinawekwa makemikali. Kama hatuna uwezo wa kununua sasa zaidi ya hizo kuja kubadilisha kila masaa, ndio unakuta sasa watoto wa kike, mtu anakuja anakuwa anashindwa kupata watoto, fungus inakula kizazi hivyo.
Pointi ya tatu katika hedhi salama kuna madhara. Kukosa vipindi shuleni. Anakosa vipindi shuleni kwa sababu hakiwa katika hedhi, mtoto mwingine anapata maumivu makali katika mgongo, tumbo. Kwa hiyo anashindwa kwenda shuleni kwa sababu ya maumivu anayopata. Hayo ndio madhara ambayo mkuta mtoto wa kike, anakosa vipindi, anakaa nyumbani. Kwa hiyo ni changamoto sana nyingi mtoto wa kike ambaye anakutana nazo.
Tunapenda pia kuzungumzia kuhusu wito wa wazazi. Hawatupi elimu kutokana na hedhi. Kwa hiyo ni saa nyingine wanaona kama wakitupa sisi elimu itawapelekea yani sisi labda kuwadharau wao au tunawajengea tabia, yani tabia ambayo ni yani wanaona kama sisi ndo wanatupeleka yani katika tabia ambazo hazifai katika jamii, kumbe ni uongo.
Wito katika wazazi hapo tunaongezea, kwa sababu mzazi anashindwa kukaa karibu na mtoto wake, kujua ni nini changamoto mtoto wake alizonazo, anashindwa kujenga urafiki, kujua mtoto wake anahitaji nini. Kwa madhara katika hedhi salama, wito katika wazazi hawai karibu na watoto wao, kujua nini kinawakumba, wanashindwa kujenga urafiki, wanashindwa kujua matatizo ambayo yanawakuta watoto wao wa kike. Kwa hiyo mtoto wa kike anashindwa hata kutoa matatizo yake kwa mama, naona mama ananaye ukaribu, mama ana urafiki na mtoto wake.
Tunaomba wazazi wawe yani wao wanatueleza sisi watoto wao au binti zao kutokana na madhara yanayotumika, ili kutufanya tuwe tunajiamini, kutuelezea elimu ya jinsia ikoje, sababu kuna wazazi wengine kuwapa kweli elimu watoto ya jinsia ni ngumu. Unakuta mwingine ni baba ndio anaishi na mabinti, kwa hiyo yani baba hawezi ile kuwa yani kutaka yani kuwaambia mabinti zake, kwa sababu anajiona mimi ni baba, binti yangu atanichukuliaje hivyo.
Katika hapo kunaongezea kuhusu baba ukana na mtoto wake wa kike, baba anajijengea uoga. Mtoto wa kike pia katungia ana shida ambayo inamkumba katika kipindi cha hedhi, anashindwa kumwambia baba, kwa sababu anaona kama baba nikimwambia atamuda matatizo yangu. Kwa hiyo tunajipeleka kujijengea hofu na wazazi wetu. Wazazi pia wanajenga kule kutokuwa na ukaribu na sisi, kutusaidia shida zetu, yani hivyo.
We are grateful to Helen Mushi from the Tambua Foundation in Tanzania for arranging and filming this, and to Stephen Muusha from Kenya for translating and enhancing the video, and Ala Habut for rearranging this video, and most importantly to Frida Didas and Grace John for talking so openly and honestly about the problems and stigma that they face as young women. We wish them all well in their lives and studies. We are now fortunate to have another presentation from Tanzania and our second medical doctor, Kahabi Isangula, who is going to talk us more about the difficulties and pressures that young women face in Tanzania. Welcome, Dr. Kahabi.
Greetings. My name is Kahabi Isangula. I'm a medical doctor and a public health expert from Tanzania, in rural Tanzania. And I would like to take part in this discussion by actually exploring the contextual understanding of a teenager, also trying to highlight on the cultural grounded meaning of pregnancy and giving birth. And also I will briefly talk about the key issues facing adolescents and the teenagers in Tanzania. I know that you understand what the word teenager means. You can look at the dictionary, which points to the age from 13 to 19, or you can look at the WHO, which ideally uses the teenager and adolescent, the words teenager and adolescent interchangeably, and where the age range of adolescent is actually an individual aged from 10 to 19 years of age. But if you come to the cultural definition of teenager in most communities in rural Tanzania, a teenage girl is a person who has attained womanhood, or a person who is ready to marry and bear children. And that's why, especially if someone has seen her first monthly period, and it's very common for parents to tell girls that, you know, you have now become a woman, behave like one. And this is very common, seeing that the girl has had her first monthly periods. And when you look at behind the meaning behind this this definition, the cultural definition, is actually based on what the parents will gain by someone becoming a woman. It's about the bride price. I will come to that a little bit. But basically, it's about the bride price, especially in areas where education is not that much prioritized. So looking at the idea of pregnancy and the giving birth, in Tanzania, adolescents constitute more than 25%. The total population is about 55 million, and this is actually projected to reach, the adolescents are projected to reach 30 million by 2050. And the way pregnancy and the giving birth is conceived culturally is being able, so a person who is able to become pregnant and bear children is actually considered as some sort of offering a return on investment, as I mentioned before, in terms of bride price. And the opposite, when a woman is unable to bear children or become pregnant, so the opposite of that predisposes a woman to verbal abuses from husband's family, and often it may lead to divorce. And this is because children in most rural communities are valued as a source of manpower, especially for farming and animal keeping activities. But again, when you look at the development of science and the technology, what I call modernity, it has actually introduced new challenges to teenagers, especially in rural communities. So we have the education system. We have primary school, which is a 7-year schooling system, and we also have 4 years. We call it secondary school. We have high school 2 years, and we have university 3 to 5 years, depending on the courses someone is taking. So by the age of 19, over 90% of students, because of the pyramidal system of education, over 90% of graduates from primary school who are between 15 to 19 years, most of them stays at home, because only a few are able to proceed to secondary school, 3 to 5%. So since because someone is at home, so what would they be doing? Actually, it's nothing. They just stay there waiting for someone to come to get married and bear children, especially for girls. For male, they would actually engage in some income generating activities, riding motorcycles, commercial motorcycles or bicycles, and the other income generating activities. But the girls are always at a disadvantage. They have to stay home when they're waiting for somebody to get married. As a result of that, girls find themselves in a transactional sex in order to meet the daily necessities, for example, food, clothing, smartphone, and the telephone vouchers. And so the sugar daddy system is very, very common, and even the motorcycle drivers often take advantage of girls who are at home. But even for those in school, they end up engaging in transactional sex just to meet the cost of transport and the daily necessities, especially if they're coming from rural families, poor families. So the consequence, the result of that is that most girls end up having early pregnancies or unplanned pregnancies. And it's because of this, most research in Tanzania show that about 40% of adolescent girls by the age of 18 years in Tanzania are either mothers or pregnant. So more than 40% by the age of 18 years. And the other consequence is STIs, for example, HIV and AIDS, and the HIV prevalence in Tanzania is 1.4 for adolescents. The other, for those in school, they end up having school dropouts. More than 45,000 dropped out of primary school in recent years, and more than 80,000 girls dropped out of secondary school. actually not, this is the cumulative figure, but more than 60% of these are girls. So what can be done to address the challenges girls face? One, the girls themselves need to recognize the value of education. As you know, you may have read in the news, we are mourning the death of our president, and the vice president was recently sworn in as the first female president in Tanzania. So this is has kind of the discussion around the social media is that women can actually attain, can become anything if they wanted to. So the value of education has been heightened by the swearing in of the first female president. The government need also to invest in economic empowerment. You know, the root causes of all the challenges that girls face in rural areas is poverty. So if we have intervention that prioritize girls, out of school girls, for them to become financially independent, that could actually be a solution to many challenges that girls face. We also needed to make sure, the government needed to make sure that the policies are implemented and the laws are implemented. We have a gender desk at police stations, but research shows that poor families are afraid to report sexual abuses because of victimization by some dishonest policies. So we needed to make sure the policy system, the gender desk works. The development partners can also organize international and the local forum for girls to discuss the challenges they face and the proposed solutions. Like what we are doing here, I believe there are some girls who will be presenting and discussing the challenges they face. Well, the problem with these kind of forums, they focus on girls in urban areas, leaving out the rural girls who are actually facing many problems. We also, the development partners, NGOs, needed to invest in knowledge and awareness on issues of interest to girls, especially the reproductive and the child health issues. They also needed to invest in economic empowerment through income generation to create financial independence. And what we can do, me and you, actually, we need to be the voices for teenagers. We need to be the activists to talk about the challenges they face and how to address them. As parents, as big sisters, brothers, we need to protect the teenagers when they face challenges, when they face issues, and when we witness them facing these issues, we need to speak out, we need to report to relevant authorities. Again, as parents, we need to create equal opportunity for our children as parents at home, not only favoring boys, but also creating equal opportunity for girls as well. Thank you very much, and it was very nice talking to you. Welcome to Tanzania. Asante.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kahabi, for this helpful presentation. We are grateful for the time given to us by these busy professionals. And we have a message from Dr. Abdullah, who is supposed to be our second medical doctor to speak. He's still in the clinic trying to find a hospital place for a COVID patient, but he will join us later. So now we welcome a friend and a sister to our project, the chairperson of SUNFO International Women's Wing, Ambassador Faith Hang Lingmin, educator and beauty queen from Singapore, who hosted an excellent conference for International Women's Week. She will be giving her presentation on health matters. Welcome, Ambassador Faith Hang.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yep. I'm Amber Faith Hang. Yeah. So I'll just keep my speech short. Health matters. There are many aspects of health matters to look at, and they definitely do matter. I think I should leave the physical health issues to be discussed by doctors. But I would like to draw everyone's attention to an issue that may not be as obvious to the eyes, but has great impact that we should raise awareness of. According to WHO Director General Dr. Tedros, every 40 seconds, one person died due to suicide. This amounts to close to 800,000 deaths every year. Suicide is a global phenomenon. The second leading cause of death among young people aged 15 to 29 years. a main cause of suicide is mental disorders. 1 in 4 people will suffer mental disorders at some point in their lives. Around 450 million people are currently being affected by mental disorders, placing that to be among the leading causes of unhealthiness. In today's world, especially with COVID pandemic, there are dramatic changes and complex problems. We are facing pressing common challenges such as economic crisis, climate change, and healthcare issues. People can be suffering depression, anxiety, and other stresses of various levels as they go through trial and tribulations, such as experiencing sudden loss of close ones or jobs, going through stress of having to juggle with working from home while attending to children who are doing home-based learning due to school closure, an increase in conflict with family members, with the increased time for possible interaction, for more extreme cases, even resulting in family violence. Women especially are the ones who can feel the strain, as traditionally, women's role is primarily to care for the family, displaying communal characteristics such as kindness and sensitivity. While more women are empowered today, they are often still the ones taking care of the family while working. People under stress and possibly suffering from mental disorders can be our family, friends, or loved ones. What is even more crucial is these people may not be aware of their own condition, thus hindering them from seeking the necessary assistance early, especially from the professionals. Therefore, there's a need for joint efforts in bringing about swift, effective action to combat. Constant care and concern are necessary to help identify such issues at an early stage. Below are 5 warning signs of mental illness to look out for. Number 1, persistent sadness. Number 2, extreme mood swings. Number 3, excessive anxiety. Number 4, social withdrawal. Number 5, dramatic changes in eating or sleeping habits. Stay vigilant, spread love and positivity. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ambassador and Chairperson Sachintha, for your thought-provoking words. We are very happy that you've joined us. Now we are keen to hear from young voices around the globe, and this is a section of the film Joseph Muusha had made in Zimbabwe about the difficulties of accessing healthcare for poorer and rural populations. The sound is a little quiet, but we hope you can manage to follow Joseph's words.
On the question that how easy is it to get healthcare here in Zimbabwe, we're talking about that. On the healthcare part, it's not easy because healthcare is expensive. Like, it's very, very expensive when you talk about healthcare. There's also unavailability of drugs, like the medicines, they are not available, most of the time, which means if people like are not feeling well or are ill and they lack those medications, it can lead to some people dying because there are no medications. It can also lead to social stress, you know, like knowing that maybe the money is there, or you can even take good care of yourself, but on the lacking part of when it's not there, there's nothing you can do about it. It becomes everything complicated. There's also a shortage of drugs. We are talking about unavailability, that they might not be there at all. Then for some sectors, they might be there, but they might be in shortage to cover up for most of the people in the country, which means that, like, for the poor, they will remain the poor and they are deprived of those things. Those the rich can manage to get those things. Most of it is being sold in the black market at high dubious rates, which means at the end of the day, it will be something which is not good at all, because people's incomes, like, they don't save their papers as they are supposed to. which means at the end of the day, it will be something not good. In rural areas, you'll find that for people to get these medications or whatever they want to secure, they have to travel, they have to board some transport. With these health issues, like mainly, according to how I see it, they lead to isolation at some point. But for those people who will not be feeling well, or let's say mentally, because like you have social stress, most of the people, when you're not feeling well, you tend to have this social stress thing, which means you're affected mentally. And once you're affected mentally, you know, like even within the surroundings, not everyone will treat you the same when you're in a bad condition, which means when you see that people are giving you a cold shoulder at some point, it will lead to self-isolation. Like people isolate themselves from you, and you even feel isolated, which means at the end of the day, it can lead even to more stress and stress and stress affecting the person, leading to like even quick death. The physical part. Let's talk about the physical part. You know, physically, there is deprivation of rights. Like somebody's rights are deprived. Like within the country, let's say here in Zimbabwe, resources are hard to come by when it comes to this health part of it. Let's say somebody is crippled or somebody is disabled, like physically disabled. Let's say maybe through accidents or yeah, a lot of situations that can lead to somebody being disabled. The resources like wheelchairs, like walking sticks, like clashes, yeah, those things, they are very hard to come by. And if they come, most of them, they'll be in short supply, and they doesn't cater for all the people who will be having a certain condition. Which means once that thing happens, that some of the people are deprived of those resources. Within the country, there are few institutions who take care of these people, like the institutions which can help, like the people who will be disabled, there are very few. And those few, they are not available always to everyone. So at the end of the day, it will mean that most of the people also can't be helped within those perimeters. And with those few, with some parents and guidance, maybe they don't have the knowledge on how to apply and go about the process for them to be helped or assisted within some organizations which can be there. Yeah, I can just say it's just something which is very complicated and which maybe, if possible, needs proper attention and being looked at, so that people will just get everything up to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph, for sending us this video message. And now we welcome another medic, this time from Kenya, and supporting the community health clinic in the local slum areas where he was recently holding out masks and sanitizers to elders in that community. Edwin Matende will talk to us about his work in the community health clinic. Welcome, Mr. Edwin.
I'm sorry, I can't I can't see him in the program. Maybe he's had difficulty joining. He's telling me on the WhatsApp he has difficulty joining. So we'll go to the next item and try and connect and come back. Thank you.
Yes. So let us continue with our agenda. And we welcome Mr. Bully Bekele, who works for World Vision and provides water sanitation and hygiene projects, which I am sure he will explain. Mr. Bully Bekele, welcome. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I apologize from everyone. Mr. Bully. Okay.
Unfortunately, I also can't see him. I think we're having some connection problems in different places. We'll try and get people back in.
Yes. Okay. Continuing, and now we welcome one of our very active and helpful volunteers from North Africa and also tech wizard, but in his capacity as a dance artist. Ala Kabute is from North Africa and supports volunteer in Morocco. He is a master of many talents, including many different types of dance from hip hop, circus skills. Here he will tell us why he had found dance so important for males and physical health.
Unfortunately, I also
Mr.
just received a message from him. Sadly, this is the difficulty doing things live because people have different connectivity problems around the place. So I apologize very much. We'll try and bring people back in when we have them. So, okay, sorry.
Yes. So we are now turning to look at sexual health and HIV and AIDS, which is very important topic around the world. And we have few perspectives on this important topic, both internationally and Africa specifically. Our next speaker is Darcy Weaver, who is a sexual and reproductive health rights professional. She has experience in HIV prevention.
Sachintha, so sorry to interrupt. I can see that this is the difficulty because if now the program is running a little bit early, so some of the later speakers. So I think what will happen, the best thing is I'll do my program about HIV and AIDS, if that, sorry, about drugs, and then we'll hope that some of the others can catch up. So sorry.
Yes. So I would like to introduce Madam Linda Rose to everyone. She's the chairperson of SUNFO International Children's Wing, and she's going to speak briefly about understanding and responding to drug and substance addictions. Madam Linda set up and ran several youth drug projects in UK, which were called the Beacon of Good Practices by the Home Office. And in Sri Lanka, she has worked in many of the prisons, certified schools, and remand centers running prisoner rehabilitation programs, which were highly effective and often relating to preference to face drug addictions in the community again. She wrote a theoretical and practical manual that is used in drug education and rehabilitation in Sri Lanka. Madam Linda?
Okay, thank you. I'll just share my screen. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think today is a little bit of an unusual day. We seem to be having more technical problems. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about substance misuse, which is one of the issues under SDG3 health. It is something that is predominantly a problem in Western countries, but it is also a problem around the world. So I'm not going to be giving a lecture, because also time permitting, about all the different types of drugs. First of all, they vary from country to country, and each country has its own local brands that are cheaper and made out of local produce. This is a very interesting chart done by the Australian Drugs Agency and can be found on the website. If you want to take screenshots, feel free. And on one side, you see the various different types of drugs. Those types of drugs will affect different experiences in your body or in your mindset. And so certain groups of drugs can be clustered together in terms of the reactions. As I said, I'm not going into different particular ones, but you have stimulants that raise you up, depressants that slow your heart rate down, and generally, again, everything is on a continuum, but relaxation through, if you're too depressed in terms of physically, it ends to coma and death. Opioids are their own separate group. Dissociatives, so dissociatives, you are mentally and physically almost separated from what's going on around you. Psychedelics affect your psychology, and your brain interprets what it sees in a different way. Empathogens are ones that affect how you're feeling, and you may feel more relaxed or loving, makes you more empathic. And cannabinoids are ones that are related to the cannabis plant, and again, various different strengths. So there's many different drugs that are under those. Many of these are under prescription as well, but can be bought in a separate way and can be used. I'm having difficulty moving the page on. Sorry about this. Okay, so first of all, I'm talking to two different groups. One is a group of people who are the educators or those working with drug users. The second one, I'm talking to people who have issues with drug use themselves. And let's be realistic, this is not necessarily people who, as we have an image of a drug user, you know, sitting under a bridge by themselves and maybe lost their job, lost their family. There can be highly sophisticated people in society who also have drug problems. Sometimes if you're wealthy, you may have serious drug problems, but you hide it because you have the money to hide those things. So we have to be realistic that we're talking about every sector of society, but we see the lower end more clearly because they can't hide in their nice big houses with big walls and their jobs that they can kind of make excuses. So in order to work with people, we have to be realistic. This is a #1 issue among drug education and prevention. People are not realistic, and this is my passion. We have to understand, why do people use substances, alcohol or anything like that? Why do people use them? What are they looking for? What is it that they actually try to do? Why are they using them? If we ignore that, then anything else we do apart from punishment is wasted. If you really want people to change their lives and come off drugs, you have to understand how they see the drugs. That's absolutely important. I was criticized before because when people don't understand clearly, they think I'm saying drugs are okay. No, drugs are one of the most damaging things in the world. Whether they should be legalized in order to control them is a big question, because again, the more harsh the punishment does not always deter people. So drugs cause problems in society, problems in families. Alcohol is one of the most dangerous, with violence in the home. There is no way I'm ever defending or saying that drugs is a good thing. However, we have to be pragmatic and realistic. So we must understand what the drug user wants. What do they think is good about that drug? If we don't understand what's good about that drug to them, then we cannot help them, because saying don't do it is not going to do anything. If you take somebody and they really enjoy doing something and you say don't do it, they're not going to listen to you. So we have to understand drugs from their point of view if you want to make a life difference. So I'm going to whiz through this. This is a whole day's workshop, and somebody really must tell me when to stop also, because I will also overrun and I don't want to. So the first thing is, why do people take drugs? There are 3 main categories. Some people take them, even well-adjusted, happy teenagers may try them because they heard about them. So they experiment. That is the nature of teenagers. They're experimenting with life. They want to know what it is. If they're a highly adjusted, very positive teenager with a high expectation in life, they may just try it one time and say, okay, I know what people are talking about, and that's it. But if they actually have more, sorry, I have to admit somebody into the conference. So if they have more interest in it, or they have other problems, they might find that they like the effect. So why do people use alcohol? Sometimes just as a social drink. Why as a social drink? Because it may relax them and they're nervous to talk to people. So in England, even for me, there's a problem with the media that drinking alcohol among adults on TV is socially acceptable. Even in TV programs, they're joking, how much did you drink? Did you get drunk? That's not positive for our young people. But alcohol is more socially acceptable than heroin, cannabis, other things, but it still has the same problems. So then people might use the drug recreationally. That means they enjoy it, they use it. They might not drink at certain times, but they will enjoy doing that. They control the drug. When it becomes dependent, the drug controls the person, and they then find that they need it. They may not realize it, they may not acknowledge it, but they start needing that drug, and the drug starts controlling their life. So next. So again, we have to be very honest with education about children, about telling the truth. You know, sometimes we want to scare our children to behave properly, but if they don't trust what we're saying, then they will not listen to anything else we say. And that's the same with drugs. So again, the way the drug risks affect the type of drug. Is it a stimulant? Is it what's going on with it? What is the person like? You know, if they're a bigger person, it takes more drug to affect them. If they're very small, women have more fat content, which actually affects the drug more than men who are more muscle content. And the situation. You can have a little glass of something when you're with your friends in a restaurant, but if you're just about to cross a railway track, or you're feeling really depressed, or your friends take you down a dark alleyway and get you drunk, or push you into somebody's car, the situation becomes more dangerous. So those three things together show you the actual risk. So if you're working with somebody, you can't just think, I don't like drugs, so whatever you're doing is bad, so stop. You have to talk to them. Who, you know, what's your situation? You have to listen to them. Tell me about how you're using this. And we have to listen from their point of view. So very quickly, oh yes, how strong is the dose? Please again, take screenshots. I don't have time to really go in detail, and the situation. So again, you can have copies of this if you want to later on. So what are the problems? The three main things that drugs affect. Health. So again, some drugs don't particularly affect your health. Some do. Alcohol in small quantities doesn't really affect you, but it may do in large quantities. Cigarettes, not good. You know, each one, there's a different level of health problem. The legal problem, again, this adds a layer to the drugs, because the drug, they may be struggling with the drug. The fact it's illegal may mean that it costs a lot. And in order to get the money, they may then become more illegal, going and robbing and doing those other things. So there's a legal threat. And also lifestyle and relationships. As we said with alcohol, it can become extremely dangerous when you're using, and also the other things that you're doing to get those drugs. So what are the possible responses, especially for policy writers? The classic one that everybody thinks of first, punishment, you know, prison. But does that solve the problem? We know in many places you can smuggle drugs into prison. Many people say their first real problem with drugs started in prison. So that punishment doesn't really work. Education. Education must be respectful. It must tell the truth. A policeman told me before, when we talk about gas sniffing, glue sniffing, which younger children try to do because it's easy to get, he said we should tell them 25% of everybody trying this dies the first time. I said, if a quarter of everybody died the first time, we would be stepping over bodies. So many people will be dead. So if you tell that in a school, you won't scare them. You will look a fool. They will know that's not true. I know this person does it. He's not dead. We have to say the truth. It's very dangerous. Some people do die, but don't make up statistics to scare people. And most importantly, support, because drug users won't be ready for support until they get to a place where they realize they have a problem. And that's the difficulty with drug education. Most people at that stage don't care, they won't listen, which is why building a relationship of trust is very important. So the solutions, what can we do? This is the golden answer. You have a choice of practical solutions. Every drug issue, unless somebody is very wealthy, will have practical problems. They may have lost their job. They may have run out of money. They may have robbed. They may be in jail. Their family may have tried and given up. Many drugs have emotional roots. This is why it's key in areas where people have war, where people have problems, hunger, where people have different issues. They are more likely, to get problems with drugs, because they use the drug as a crutch to help the emotions. And replacement. I worked with a long-term drug user who'd been to many rehabilitation centers, and I asked him, what is the replacement you use for your drugs? He was shocked. Nobody ever asked him. If drugs has become a big part of your lifestyle, looking for drugs, thinking about them, alcohol, whatever, then you must replace that. You cannot take that out of your life and not fill that gap with something. So if you want to help a drug user come off drugs, you have to plan for their life. You have to think, what can we fill their life, their routines? And we might have to make some big changes. So we may not be able to get everybody to come off drugs. That, again, some people give up because they say, well, if they're still taking it, then there's no point. No, with everything, there is a movement from the worst chaotic drug, using dirty needles. Total life is absolutely dreadful. Selling your body, selling your time, killing people for money, anything like that. That's the worst, chaotic. But there is a journey all the way down to abstinence. It may start with using clean needles. It may start with asking for help or a program that will give you some legalized drugs to help you control. Those are the things, step by step. Each step is really valuable. So it's harm minimization. You're minimizing the harm. And sometimes getting the practical things sorted is the first step. Sometimes you have to have the house or the job in order to give somebody hope. And that hope gives them strength to fight it. So again, this is the journey of the chaos. The cycle of change, I cannot have time to go through that. But again, there is a lot of thought. There is a lot of preparation before somebody gets there. And then there are a lot of failures. People try, they're really psyched up, and then something happens. I helped a heroin user come off heroin. Then she lost her phone, which had everything. She went back on. But you see it like a spiral. Each time it gets closer to the success. But we have to think about the thinking, the planning, and we have to help with the motivation. Only they can make the change. So they need to find motivation, real incentives. Who will help them? What will you replace the drugs with? Time and the ritual. What can you reward yourself with to help each little bit? And this is for those who are trying to struggle with this. Why do you want to change? Give yourself big incentives. Write these down. Make a little book that you can work towards. Make your realistic plan. What do you hope to achieve? I have a problem with eating. No point me saying I want to be like a supermodel. I have to do it step by step. We all have to be realistic. Who or what or when are you tempted? We have to be realistic. Some friends motivate us. Some friends pull us down. You might need to make some big changes in your life. Again, draw. Who is going to help? I find drawing really, really helps. Where are your temptation spots? Don't go out with friends you know you can't control yourself because you feel bad about the peer pressure. That's about the realism. Be realistic and honest with yourself. And what can you do? Think of practical things. If you give up smoking, maybe have a pen or a lollipop you have in your mouth because you want something in your mouth. Be realistic about those changes and don't blame yourself if you fall. Just get up, think, okay, I'm a little bit closer, and next time I will make better and better changes. And what can you do when you feel bad? Where can you go? Find somebody, find something, find a movie that you like to watch, some music that makes you feel better, a friend you can phone, and you have the power to do it. You cannot change your past. So the emotional things that affect you, you can't change those, but you do have a choice whether you let them affect your future. You can actually hold that. It's not easy. I'm never saying it's easy. It's a very, very hard thing, but you can grasp that future. You might have to leave behind bitterness, anger, injustice. You might never get the justice you need, but you can make your life your own in the future. You're strong, you're awesome, you're mighty. You can do this. Okay, I'm sure that I overran, but I have a few speakers missing. I'm hoping that this was strong enough to support those who are going through that. Okay, thank you so much, and back to you, Sachintha.
Thank you so much, Madam Linda, for those practical and useful words on a difficult subject. And now we are moving to our speaker, Darcy Weaver, and she's back with us. She's a sexual and reproductive health and rights professional. She has experience in HIV prevention and support services, as well as global comprehensive sexuality education programming. She was previously at the Senior Technical Advisor at International Planned Parenthood Federation in London, and now works in Washington, D.C., based advocates for youth as a consultant, leading work to expand their AMAZE program internationally. Darcy will be discussing comprehensive sexuality education, including the digital resources available through amaze.org. We are really pleased to welcome her here today. Welcome, Madam Darcy.
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me today. And thank you for the very warm welcome. Also very pleased to see we have someone doing sign language interpretation. So thank you for that as well. So I'm going to share my screen now. Great. So I'll be talking a little bit about comprehensive sexuality education today. And I think it's important within this forum for two reasons. First, I think it's important for any professionals who are joining us today to understand the importance that CSE, or comprehensive sexuality education, plays within the kind of wider context of the health and well-being of young people, and to really ensure they're advocating for CSE at local and national levels. But it's also important for the young people who've joined us today to understand more about CSE, not just as the recipients of this kind of information, but also as potential peer educators, or to help signpost their peers to find medically accurate information about puberty, reproduction, healthy relationships, and all those types of topics. So in terms of sexuality education and strategic development goal number 3, there are, of the 13 targets within SDG3, there are a few that have really strong links to CSE, including HIV infection rates, hepatitis B incidence, mental health, as well as universal access to SRH, sexual health and reproductive health services and education. Within these targets, we've seen a steady decline worldwide in the adolescent birth rate, which is really a positive move. But as COVID continues to spread, we know that many health facilities, along with schools and community centers, are closed or providing very limited services. And so this will have an overall impact on our ability to achieve this goal. So in terms of CSE, CSE is a curriculum-based process of teaching and learning, and it includes the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social aspects of sexuality. CSE aims to equip children and young people with the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that they'll need to have healthy adult relationships and to have healthy lives, as they move forward. It really aims to focus on the kind of respectful social and sexual relationships that they may encounter throughout their life. So CSE is incremental. That means that it moves through stages and it starts at a very early age. It's also age and developmentally appropriate, and it's based on a human rights approach and always rooted with a gender equality lens, which we all know helps to support healthy relationships. So why is CSE important? Well, I've listed some of the ways that it impacts on young people, but we also know that young people who've been introduced to CSE programs have delayed initiation of sexual intercourse. They have reduced risk-taking. They have increase in condom use and increase in use of contraception. So in terms of the key concepts of CSE, UNESCO's International Technical Guidance on Sexuality Education provides a framework of 8 key concepts that should be covered in all CSE curriculum, and I've listed those here. The topics are repeated multiple times throughout a young person's life, and each time with more kind of increasing complexity. But CSE should always focus on 3 things: knowledge, attitudes, and behavior. So before I talk a little bit about Amaze, the organization that I work for, I'm just going to show you one of our videos. Amaze is an initiative that was started in 2016 by 3 nonprofit organizations working in the field of sexual health, including Advocates for Youth, Answer, and Youth Tech Hub. And we provide sexual education videos for very young adolescents. So those would be young people ages 10 to 14 with on a variety of topics. So I'm going to show you today just a 2.5-minute video that we've produced on HIV.
Every Tuesday is assembly, then Wednesday is video game club, and Kevin, what are you wearing?
Hey, this is for my own protection. I heard there's a new clone with some kind of UFO virus.
I think you might be talking about me. I'm Michael, and I don't have an alien disease, but I do have HIV.
HIV? That sounds even scarier.
It's not scary if you know the facts, Kevin. HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. The virus attacks certain white blood cells that fight off infections and illnesses. This can weaken a person's immune system, making it less effective at protecting the body. If it's left untreated, HIV can lead to a more serious condition called AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. A person with AIDS is vulnerable to other infections, including TB, pneumonia, certain types of cancer, and more.
Yes, so man, I think I need more safety equipment.
Don't worry, Kevin. You can't get HIV through casual contact like touching, kissing, or even sharing a glass of water.
We can't see the
HIV
video.
can spread through contact with specific...
Sorry, I think you need to unshare the PowerPoint
and breast
in
milk.
order to share
It's usually transmitted through sex or sharing needles. Untreated, HIV can also pass from mother to child during pregnancy, birth, or...
So sorry.
We couldn't see the video, sorry. I think you need to I think now if you share the video, it'll be fine. We could hear it, but we couldn't see it because the other slide.
Oh, apologies. Let me try that again. Apologies. Should I start over from the beginning?
Start from the beginning of the video. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Apologies for that.
No problem.
All right.
Every Tuesday's assembly, then Wednesday's video game club, and Kevin, what are you wearing?
Hey, this is for my own protection. I heard there's a new clone with some kind of UFO virus.
I think you might be talking about me. I'm Michael, and I don't have an alien disease, but I do have HIV.
HIV? That sounds even scarier.
It's not scary if you know the facts, Kevin. HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. The virus attacks certain white blood cells that fight off infections and illnesses. This can weaken a person's immune system, making it less effective at protecting the body. If it's left untreated, HIV can lead to a more serious condition called AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. A person with AIDS is vulnerable to other infections, including TB, pneumonia, certain types of cancer, and more.
Yes, so man, I think I need more safety equipment.
Don't worry, Kevin. You can't get HIV through casual contact like touching, kissing, or even sharing a glass of water. HIV can spread through contact with specific body fluids, blood, semen, vaginal fluids, and breast milk. So it's usually transmitted through sex or sharing needles. Untreated, HIV can also pass from mother to child during pregnancy, birth, or breastfeeding. It's less common, but that's how I got it.
To protect yourself and others, either wait to have sex or use condoms every time, and don't inject drugs. It's really important for people who have sex to get tested regularly for HIV and other STIs. You can get tested by your regular doctor or at a clinic. There are even some tests you can take at home.
Is there any way to cure HIV?
Unfortunately, there's no way yet to completely clear HIV from the body. So once you get it, you always have it.
But the good news is there's a lot of safe and effective medication that can help people with HIV to live healthy, long lives and reduce the chances of passing it to others. There's even a drug that can prevent people from getting HIV if they're at high risk. I have to take my medication and be careful, but I'm healthy and I have a great life.
That's awesome, bruh. Sorry I was such a mugu earlier.
It's cool.
Hey, why don't you join us for video game club?
Yeah, with only one button, you can sommer smaak every press.
Great. Okay, so we'll just go back to the slides now. So as I mentioned, we were started a few years ago, and so to date, we've had 50 million views of our videos on YouTube. We've won multiple awards, and we have had an increase in demand from teachers during the time of COVID for more online resources. We're working right now in about 30 countries to contextualize some of our videos and to dub them into multiple languages. And we launch a new video every 2 weeks. So in terms of how we fill the gaps, well, we address some of the vulnerabilities that face very young adolescents, again, those young people ages 10 to 14. And we also, find that there's oftentimes not a lot of content for this age category. So that's another reason why Amaze is important, because we help to fill that. And then we also, as I mentioned, are really helping to meet the online demand for not only educators who are looking for digital resources, but parents and young people as well. So we have about 150 animated videos on a wide range of topics, some around healthy relationships, gender, and then some more about the kind of biological processes like we've just talked about. We also have resources for parents and educators. So we've got actual curriculum that accompanies the various videos, which people can download for free. So in terms of becoming a partner with Amaze, there's a few different options that people can have because all of our resources are free. The first is that people can integrate the existing Amaze videos as they already are. So if you right now work with young people, or you are in a community setting where you are having some kind of interaction with community members, you can use the Amaze videos as is. Just go on our website, amaze.org, download the videos and share them. The second option is to subtitle Amaze videos, and this is a really easy and cost-effective method for contextualizing the videos into local languages. Many of our videos right now on amaze.org and on our YouTube channel have subtitles already, but if you have a specific language that's not included, we would be very happy to help you through that process. Then the third is about actually dubbing Amaze videos into local languages. And so, for example, we are working with organizations globally right now to dub videos into lots of local languages, which is a really exciting opportunity. And it really does enhance the overall kind of viewership for young people when they're watching these videos. And then the kind of fourth way is to change the videos quite significantly in terms of ensuring that the background is correct, or that the clothes that the characters are wearing looks more like young people in your community. And then also we're very happy to talk to organizations who want to create new videos. So as I mentioned, all of our videos are absolutely free to use, and they're published under the Creative Commons license. So I've included a link there if you'd like more information about how to bring Amaze to your country. So I hope that you found this talk useful and interesting, because as we move through the time of COVID, there are more people who are interested in looking at digital resources, and we hope to be, a part of that to help, especially fill that gap for the 10 to 14-year-old young people. Again, I've put my email address there if you'd like any more information. And yeah, just want to thank the organizers again for inviting us today to talk a little bit more about Amaze.
Thank you so much for this helpful and informative session. We are thankful to have so many top-level professionals to grace our forum, and thank you for your input. And we encourage everyone to look up at the Amaze films, as they are wonderful teaching methods for young people on a wide range of topics. We will be playing another really important film at the end of the conference about disability and sexuality for those who wish to stay. As we mentioned, we are pleased to have an Africa-specific perspective on HIV and AIDS from Mr. Ocean Jeffrey from Vision for Children in Uganda. Thank you, Mr. Ocean, and welcome. Mr. Jeffrey, I would like to request you to unmute yourself.
Yes. Yes. I'm by the name of Chan Geoffrey. I worked with Vision for Children Youth Forum based in Uganda, Amoro District. Vision for Children Youth Forum was established in the year 2012 by a group of fresh university graduates who team up in order to come and support their fellow youth. I'll go straight away to the point because I see time is bad for us. Vision for Children Youth Forum have programs on the HIV-related AIDS. And under our program, we do have program on. Yes, according to the Global Information and Education on HIV/AIDS Research 2019 indicates that about 1.5 million Ugandans are living with HIV/AIDS. Then 5.8% of the people are between the age of 15 to 49, and 53,000 HIV new infections, and 21,000 AIDS-related deaths. Then 85% adults on antiviral treatment. Then 65% children on antenatal treatment. The key point on this program is that in country where 1.5 million people are living with HIV, women and young women in particular are desperately affected. There are many political and cultural barriers which have hindered the effects in HIV prevention programming in Uganda. As a result, new HIV infections are expected to rise in the coming year. While there have been increased effort to scale up the treatment initiative in Uganda, there are still many people living with HIV/AIDS. And the most affected group in this area is the adolescents, girls, and young women between the age of 14 to 35 years, followed by the sex workers, men who have sex with fellow men, people who inject drugs, and fishing communities. HIV, the government have had several programs to help reduce on the spread of HIV/AIDS. We have education and approach to sex education. This included, which has been included in the education curricula for the country. Then we also have prevention of mother-to-child transmission, and we also do have voluntary male circumcision, which is also being practiced. And we also have condom availability to use and access to pre-exposure to sex. These are those who may be have been raped, and the government have program to give them some medication that can help to prevent the spread of the diseases. We do have an outreach program. Under the outreach program, we have community outreach program whereby we provide services to the adolescents, youth, and the child mothers who might not otherwise have access to the services. On the school outreach, we also do have outreaches whereby we provide health prevention education and career exploration opportunities for youth. Also, we do have interactive program which equips school pupils with the health knowledge and skill needed to make informed decisions around health behavior and academic success. During the COVID-19, the organization is implementing a related project on sexual and reproductive health called Youth Link Project. Under this project, we are trying to see how we could extend services on sexual and reproductive health to the hard-to-reach community, especially the girls and the adolescents. Under this program, we realized that the problem that has caused this problem, that has led to this, is that on the issue of information, we have limited access to information on sexual and reproductive health. This is due to the ignorance among the girls and the fellow youth within the community. Also, we do have problem of poor attitude by the parents and the tradition that network. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, you're fine. We can hear you.
I have a problem on network. Then we do have poor attitude by parents, stroke the tradition and the religious belief. Some of these parents, they fear to come out and share issues related to sexual and reproductive health with their girls. And this really affected the girls so much. And these girls and the youth end up going to their fellow youth to get this information, which are at some times not the right information. And we also, due to this problem, it has led to many early marriage. It has led to many youth contracting HIV, stroke AIDS, And it has also led to early marriage. And the problem is big in the way that over 6,000 actually girls made pregnant during this lockdown. Specifically in Amora, about 1,620 girls were pregnant within the 6 months. Under this, we came out with activities that can really help us reach out these adolescents youth, whereby we train about 10 community-based youth who are called champions. And these youth were equipped with knowledge on sexual and reproductive health, and they could easily access these youth in the hard-to-reach community and give them this related program. We also do have sporting activities. That is, the girls have been given a chance to play football, because in our tradition, they used not to accept girls to be playing football. But with this one, girls were able to mobilize themselves, come together and share issues related to sexual and reproductive health. And they are able to strongly want those who come against their rights. We also do have HIV and test. We also do have HIV/AIDS counseling and testing services for these adolescents. And after they are being tested positive, we always give them referral services, whereby they could go to the regional government hospital to get this HIV service. Then we also addressing this problem by organizing a moonlight testing services. This is done at night because most of the youth, they fear testing during daytime because people could say that maybe they are infected with HIV. So they always like to be tested at night, whereby they could not be seen. And also we do give career guidance and counseling to them, and referral services to the government hospital, as I told you earlier. We also do have health talk. Under this health talk, we do give them information about their body changes, how they can easily get infected with HIV/AIDS, the different STDs that are there. And also we do advise them that in case they need those services, they are free to reach the nearby health centers. We are also creating awareness on related chronic diseases such as the HIV/AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea, and hepatitis B to the hard-to-reach communities. We are also preventing our youth into drug addiction by making them to engage in sporting activities so that it keep them away from being idle. We are also carrying out community dialogue with the parents, especially the youth who get infected with HIV. Sometimes they fear to be open to tell their parents. So we always engage them and also involve the leaders in the process so that they should be taken as normal human being, and they should be treated equally as their fellow siblings. We do provide several services because we have some of our community organizations who are doing related health program. So we team up together and we organize a health camp. Under this health camp, we provide a lot of programs like family planning program. We also provide condom distribution to the youth. We also engage them into the sporting activities. And we encourage the child mothers to always use the family planning method, like the injection pills, and encourage the young one also who are below the age of 18 to avoid sex. And the challenge we have been facing during the project was one, there was a lot of stigmatization from the community, and also the increase of COVID-19 also affected our program. And also we had long distance in accessing some of these adolescent girls. And also during the COVID-19, the organization implemented the project on WASH, whereby we did rehabilitation of about 10 boreholes. And we also, hello? And we also did protected well. This has helped our adolescent girls in the way that, during the menstruation period, you need to have a clean water. So this clean water has also been helping them to maintain that health condition during those stages they pass through. My advice to the fellow youth and children is one, children and youth should always take education as a priority in life, because nowadays, if you take education jokingly, your future will not be more. I also encourage the children and youth to always engage themselves in a sporting, especially during their free time and during the vacation, to avoid being idle. I also encourage the parents that they should always be closer to their children, especially during the stage whereby they are becoming an adult. That's the time when children need more in their life. And I also like to encourage youth to avoid gambling activities, because it also mentally affect their health and children. And also I would like to ensure that children should always adopt the aspect of praying. Praying sometimes also help you as you grow up. And also during this pandemic, I urge you, my fellow youth and children, to always stay safe and stick to the SOPs set by their countries, states, in order to avoid the spread of this COVID-19. Once again, I appreciate the organizer for this program, that is the SUNFO Children's Wing. My appreciation also goes to the partners and other donors who have really been supporting our program since the organization was established up to now. And I urge you, each and everyone within this platform, that let us work hard and ensure that our children have a bright future. I say this all in the name of God and my country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jeffrey. And as we move more into the mental health section of our forum with these difficult topics, we again suggest that you check out the local helplines in your country via the website Child Helplines International. Please don't leave here feeling upset. We now welcome two lovely students from Sierra Leone to talk about local HIV and AIDS issues and youth mental health. Thank you for joining us, and welcome Faber Mabinti and Easter Forna.
Hi everyone. I'm here to talk on HIV and AIDS. Now, HIV is a human immunodeficiency virus, whilst the AIDS is the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Now, in 1987 in Sierra Leone, we see that females age of 15 to 19 are mostly vulnerable to the HIV and AIDS transmission. Now, what are the causes of HIV and AIDS? We see that we can be infected through infected blood, semen, vaginal fluids, and some instruments, some sharp instruments. For example, if an affected person has used that particular, whether blades, scissors, whatsoever, and you can use that same instruments like you contact disease. And according to statistics in Sierra Leone, there is a survey, is 1.5% of the people in Sierra Leone aged 15 to 49 are HIV and AIDS positive. Now, this ranges from a low point, which is 0.8% in the southern region, to the higher region, which is 2.9%, which is the western region. Now, in 2019, we have 32,438 people living with HIV and AIDS. And The WHO discovered that the virus has been estimated to cause the death of over 32 million people. The inception of the pandemic through the infection. So now, moreover, it is further revealed by WHO that over 37.9% people are living with the virus. So there are stages how you contact the disease. The first stage is the acute HIV infection. This is the very initial stage that you come in contact with the virus. And the second stage is the chronic HIV. The chronic HIV is like, you started experiencing the gonorrhea, from gonorrhea, syphilis. So like without treatment, this will resolve to the third stage, which is the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is the AIDS. And this stage now, like, you can't control it anymore because your system has been eaten up, and and also now AIDS, which is the threatening stage that you lose your life. AIDS is the name to describe the combination. It's a life-threatening infection which develops when someone's immune system has damaged by the HIV and AIDS virus. And you cannot catch AIDS without you doing AIDS test. After your test, then you will know you have AIDS. And HIV causes AIDS, and it is a very contagious, this epidemic is so much dangerous, because we see young youths, they are just having sex, unprotected sex, and this is a problem. So now there are some recommendations. We have the ABC method. The A, which is you abstain completely from sex, because since you're a youth, if you can't, then use the B, which is you be faithful to one partner. And the C is you use condom. So like with these three ways, you can be able to go away, like avoiding completely AIDS, because it's very dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Esther Bialfana from Sierra Leone, and I'm talking on mental health. So in Sierra Leone, as we're a West African country with a population of over 7 million, 3.4 million people, and out of 3.4 million people, 13% of these people, or let's say 13% of these people are affected with mental health. So with the total number of 715,000 people affected with mental health, and 200 are only receiving proper medical attention. Why is that? Because we have limited psychiatrists in our country. Just imagine a country of 7 million people. We only have 2 psychiatrists, and we have about 19 nurses, and 3 of them are really professionals and officials. The rest are just part-time workers. They are just practicing these medical fields. But then again, why is this really spreading? We say many Sierra Leoneans lived through the psychological distressing events of one, the Civil War, which was in 1991, and it ended in 2002. And secondly, the Ebola pandemic in 2014, and also the floods, and also the mudslide that occurred in August. These all are issues, these all are affecting people and their mental health status. And also, we say the mudslide caused so many havocs, leaving 1,141 people dead. And additionally, as well, the usage of alcohol is significantly higher than the regional average, which is all causing this mental health. So looking at the statistics of youth, suffering from mental health, I will hold on there to go to the types of mental health. One, we have the anxiety and panic disorder. And two, we have bipolar disorder. We have eating disorders, mood disorder, the psychiatric, that includes the illusions and the delusions. And also we have the impulse control and addiction disorder. We have personality disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and the post-traumatic stress disorder, which is the major disorder affecting the lives of Sierra Leoneans. Because looking at it, the mudslide, the flood, the civil wars, these are all events, these are all circumstances that leads to mental health disorders in our country. So if we take a look at the way in which youth are involved in mental health, because they're the ones suffering the most. Why is that? Because we don't have proper medical centers, we don't have psychiatrists, we don't have nurses that will help in taming them. Instead, what they will do is go to traditional healing centers, which can only provide nothing but not true medical attentions, because these things, they need proper psychiatrists, they need professionals that will help them, that will counsel them, that will provide medical prescriptions for them, that will see how best they can be aided. So if we look at globally, over 13% of children and adolescents are affected by mental disorders. And we look at Sierra Leone, we look at the age of 6 to 10 years old, we say they are more likely to be affected by their thoughts, their feelings, behaviors related to these problems. So now if we look at the list, we say 1, hunger. That is to say, they don't have enough a proper feeding, they cannot fend for themselves, and that can cause mental disorder because they cannot fend for themselves. And also we say excessive work. And research identify 5 contextual definitions about mental health problems faced by young children in Sierra Leone. That is one, we say in Sierra Leone, we call it the boss. That is, we say angry or destructive behavior. They make them act rationally. They make them become hungry. They become furious. Whatever thing somebody say, even if the person say it in a mild or a calm manner, he or she is going to be very, very angry towards whatever is saying. And also we say puel arts. In Creole, we say puel arts. That is sad, disruptive behavior. They are mostly sad. Looking at them, walking on the streets, being in classrooms, they are always sad. And also we have the discouraged. In Creole, we say discourage. That is to say, they are sad, they withdraw. Some things they want to do it, but they can't do it because they face discouragement. They face sadness. There's no one there to counsel them, to educate them, to tell them, no, don't do this. Oh, you can do it. Strive on, work on it. You can do it. And also we say wandri. In Creole, we say wandri. That is excessive worrying. They worry too much. Worry about what to eat. Worry about what to wear. Worry about how to pay their fees. Worry about going somewhere. And also we say the afraid. That is abnormal fear. Abnormal fear is you want to do something, but you get scared. I can't do it. Oh, what if I do it? What will people say? I'm talking in front of so many people. Am I going to make a mistake? Am I going to get this thing right? Am I going to do this wrong? So they become fear. They have that amount of fear in them. And also, finally, the thing I would like to end with is the sorry acts as well. People become so sad. They cannot, everything is so mild. They will be walking on the streets, thinking something. They will be doing something, but their attention is not there. And they're not, all of their minds are not, they can't give their all because their minds are divided. Their mental status is being shattered. So what are the recommendations for mental health in Sierra Leone? Because this is where I live, this is what I know. We need professional psychiatrists that will help children, that will help youth, that will help adults, aged people. We'll help them
and settle these mental disorders and other professional mental homes, asylums, leaving them with something and a place where they can run to for help. And we need people, professionals that will come and seek help, see how best they can control these people, because they are out here on the streets doing all sorts of destruction and distractions. They need help. So I would like to call on the whole world. I would like to call on the governments of Sierra Leone as well to help and see this will settle this Sustainable Development Goal 3 and secure the good and well-being of every individual in the world. Thank you.
Very heartfelt and valuable words. They are from experience and it's helpful to hear. And thank you both for your contributions. Thanks a lot. So now we have our speaker, Edwin Matende. If I pronounce your name correctly, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly, I apologize for that. And I would like to welcome another medic, this time from Kenya, and supporting the community health clinic in the local slum areas where he was recently handing out masks and sanitizers to elders in that community. Edwin Mackay will talk to us about his work in the community health clinic. Welcome, Mr. Edwin Mackay.
Sound is not very good. Can you lift the microphone a little bit?
Okay.
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Edwin Matende. You correct the name. You just pronounced correctly. I'm sorry for coming here late because I have some few issues, but at least I'm on now. So I don't have much to say. I wanted to say about children's, children's, especially in Africa, as if you have traveled to various parts of Africa, you'll find that most children are affected by marasmus or kwashiorkor because of some poor feedings and poor environment of living. So
I think the signal must have got frozen.
Yes.
We'll just give him a second or two just to see if it unfreezes. Otherwise, we'll have to move on.
Mr. Edwin, are you there? Okay, I hope we will just, he will come back in short time, and let us continue with our agenda. So we are really happy to be joined by a wonderful community football project in Kenya, who kindly made a film for us. Restricted by having a film in 20-second pieces, but we can get the understanding they want to convey about the value of football for them at Kia Africa, Senior Soccer Development Partner at the Kia Development in Nairobi, Kenya.
Which affect many people's thinking and life. Secondly, it helps us to have self-confidence and self-esteem. Thirdly, it helps the players to have unity and teamwork, to have relationships.
I'm the goalkeeper of Soccer Club of Eastern Africa. I want to talk about some few points of how football helps us as young players. One of them is mental thinking or mental well-being. We think about good things when we are inside and outside of the ground. Also, the way we think it makes us work well. Also, it also involves us making good friendship or relationship with others when you are out of the ground and inside also the ground. Also, my point number 2 is it keeps us away from drugs, because some of players do not spend a lot of time with drugs, also do not use drugs, but as young players we spend a lot of time on football.
My name is Benjamin. I'm a midfielder and I play for the Soccer Club of East Africa. Playing football helps us in many ways. First of all, it helps us to boost the players' self-esteem and confidence.
We are thankful for Sphere Africa Development for sending us this video, which shows the value of football for the players. And there are many resources available to help young people. And this one video we are going to see now is from the World Health Organization.
The teenage years can be full of excitement, opportunities, and newfound freedoms. Yet they can also be times fraught with worry about exams, relationships, and keeping up with peers and the latest trends. For some, this burden can become so overwhelming they take their own lives. Suicide is never the answer. There's always hope. If you're a school principal, put a plan in place for helping students and teachers to stay mentally healthy. Organise training for staff on what signs to look out for and how to have sensitive and compassionate conversations. Create a safe school environment where students and staff know they can seek help and talk to someone if they need to. A few words can make a world of difference.
I would like to now welcome back our youngest contributor, who I'm sure you remember from our last forum. Shamant is a 10-year-old child activist for the Global Sustainable Development Goals, and he will share his thoughts about the impact of COVID and other pressures on children's mental health.
Hello guys, I'm Shamant from Sri Lanka. Today, I'm gonna talk about the incredible world of health which is pandemic. In this meetup, I'm gonna talk about the SDG goal number 3, good health and well-being. What does SDG goal number 3 try to say us? This ensures the healthy lives and promote the well-being in all ages. But I like to concentrate about the mental health of children. Yes guys, I know that children in my age have to face many challenges. Some children will say some physical complaints due to their psychological issues. These complaints are called somatic complaints. They feel fear, they'll feel hopelessness, loneliness. They do not involve in play or social activities. Guys, do you know in Sri Lanka, 6,000 deaths are caused by mental health issues. Violence among children have been increased by 30% in this pandemic. Children are also affected by a kind of depression kind of stress. They are pushed into the world of violence and computerization. I heard many recommendations which are given by WHO and mental health professionals. Here they go. Number 1, parents and society have to be very supportive to that kid to ensure to make the challenges easier to that child. Number 2, let the child play outdoors and involve in social activities. Number 3, guys, nature is the best healer. So make them involved in nature. Number 4, dear parents, please give us enough time to sharing and self-expressing. Yes, guys, these are really simple ways to lead a happy life. So, my dear children, travel through life with a smile in your face and hope in your heart. I sincerely thank to Madam Mrs. Melinda Rose for giving us such an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you again, Shaman, for your wisdom and well beyond your age. We are now pleased to welcome a young woman from Pakistan who has already wowed her country with her successful authorship at a very young age. Sophia Abid is going to talk to us about the pressures that resonate Sri Lanka, academic pressures many children face, and the subsequent mental health impact. Welcome, Sophia.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing good. I welcome you all to this session, and I would also like to thank Linda specifically for inviting me over here, and to the entire team of SUNFO for inviting all such young people and young minds along with other people, and giving me this opportunity to share my point of view on how academic pressure is built on children, how they come under a lot of stress, and how that leads to a lot of self-harm and suicide. Very sorry to mention about that, but sadly that is the reality that we will be discussing today. So, before just starting with this, I would just like to introduce myself a bit. I belong from Pakistan. I am an undergraduate psychology student, and I'm also an author of 3 books. My books basically circulate around mental health because I believe it's one of the most important things in the world today, that where we are, lacking, where our focus is not going, because a lot of people would go to the doctor if they have a fever, but if somebody's having a headache, or if somebody's not feeling good mentally or not attentive towards something, especially the teenagers that we have around the world. So I think it's something that we should actually be focusing on. So that's what I will also be talking about today, specifically focusing Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, countries where we do have a lot of young minds and talented people, but we do not tend to focus on what kind of academic pressure is being built on them, what kind of stress they're coming under, and what kind of self-harm they might be doing, why they might be lacking such an attitude that is supposed to be there in an academic environment. So if I am allowed to, may I please share my screen? All right. So the first thing that I would just like to give an introduction to is how stress, academic pressure, suicide, and self-harm is related. I'm very sorry to again mention the words as suicide and self-harm over here, but I think that because we are all part of a young generation and we are soon going to be building new generations in the world, it's very important to make sure that the upcoming generations that we have do not come under any such pressure, because most of the times as parents, as teachers, or even as peers, we do not understand what students are going through. It could be just letting the student know that they have not, performed really well in a test, or they're not performing well in the class, but we do not know the consequences caused when that student actually tends to take that on himself or herself. So moving ahead, I'd just like to give an outline for today's discussion. We will be talking about stress, we will be talking about academic pressure, self-harm and suicides, how stress busters can help us cope with all of these, how to have a healthy mind, and reaching out for professional help. That is the most important thing. I'd also like to highlight a fellow of mine who was earlier discussing how we actually have very few psychiatrists and psychologists because we do not tend to focus on mental health in today's world. There are few countries that are progressing towards this, but again, those countries are developed countries. And when we talk about countries as Pakistan, Sri Lanka, we talk about India, where development is taking place, and we have other countries as well. I would actually not mention all of them because there's a long list, unfortunately. So these countries are where mental health is not taken seriously as a concern, and that is how we can highlight because we have a lot of speakers over here and my fellows who have been previously discussing about mental health, who have been discussing the consequences, the major problems that we encounter, and the disorders associated with it. So there is one thing that I truly believe in, and because being a student myself, I believe we all go through some academic pressure, stress, and a point in our lives where we have no idea that this is actually stress that is building all these consequences inside of us. So what my belief is that education is about life, but life isn't about education. So here's what I mean to say when I mention that we are taught how to live when we are taught education, when we are educated on, when we are made knowledgeable about something, or when we're made informative about something. But we do not really have an idea that it is important to spend a life in accordance with being educated, but it's not important. It's not the factor. It's not the only thing that should be there in our life, because we should be, education is about living, but living isn't about education. That's what I basically mean to say. So people who are around you, it could be your friends, could be seniors, could be juniors, or even you could educate your parents about it, because there's nothing bad in letting someone know what is right and what is wrong. And because we're too much focused on our careers, we are too much focused on if you're able to build a professional life, if you're able to network with a lot of people around the world. Yes, all of these things are very important, but again, these are not the basis of life. The basis of life should be your mental health, your physical health. And now that we're not focusing too much on physical health over here, I would also like to mention that the situation has only gotten worse since the beginning of this pandemic of COVID-19 that has spread throughout the world, and it's getting very difficult for people to cope with it, because a lot of people do not even have proper education about how to take care of themselves, and that I believe is a very important factor in shaping your lives, in building a better future for yourself. So just coming down to this thing over here, what it feels like to be stressed. Starting to read this out, I think in not just in Pakistan, but throughout the world, there is a rising, ratio of suicides, of self-harm around the globe, because of students focusing too much on their academics and becoming a victim of harming themselves, and finally ending up with extremely vivid problems as suicides. Not to mention that this usually happens where not just development is taking place in the country, but also in countries like America or in England, I'd say, where a lot of academic pressure, academic stress is being developed inside children because our major focus is our career right now, and that should not importantly be the only thing to focus, because again, it's not your career that will help you spend a better life. I do agree with the fact that career is very important, but again, it's not more important than your life is, right? So the questions that I believe are still concerning today are that why is this happening, and what exactly are we heading towards, especially when we look at the situation that has been going on in our countries, specifically in underdeveloped countries or developing countries, where a lot of students whose parents are struggling to give them a better future. But I believe that parents are getting that it's to well-being and our mental health, because again, if you're not able to pay attention towards something, as one of my previous fellows mentioned, I just need to, all right, so I hope we're not having a connection problem over here. May I please know if I am audible to all of you? Could somebody please acknowledge that in the chat?
You're doing fine. It's there's a little bit of a glitch every so often, but mostly it's completely fine. So carry on. You're doing
Okay.
well.
All right. Thank you very much. So, again, why are the younger generations being affected more than other generations? What I mean to say is that people were educating themselves before us, and people will be educating ourselves after us. So we have a lot of generations that are taking place in the world, or that are part of the world. But again, why is it that this revolution has taken place where we are unable to cope with the stress factors that are going on, or unable to cope up with the anxiety, and most of us are developing mental disorders? So even as a psychology student, I believe that studying about your mind actually helps you understand a lot of things as well. But again, specifically in my country as well, if I'm talking about Pakistan at the moment, I do not believe that psychology has, been on the rise, or a lot of people might be talking about it. And I believe that there are other countries in the world, because I believe that Pakistan is progressing towards development. But again, there are countries who do not have enough resources, who do not have enough chances for them to provide enough psychologists, for them to provide enough psychiatrists or counselors even, who could take care of people's minds instead of just their bodies, right? So I believe that this is something that we are lacking as parents, teachers, and staff. And there's another question that I would like to raise, that is it ourselves that is just over concerned and traumatized by what is happening around us? So sometime back when I started studying about how academic pressure is building up and how I am affected by the academic pressure that is around me, even though I have never been forced into education, it has always been my choice to educate myself. But there are a lot of families, there are a lot of parents who just want their children to become, or to enter a specific era of education, or who want their children to become doctors or engineers. Even when I'm talking about the environment around me, or even in India, there are a lot of movies I would suggest. Believe that as parents and teachers, we need to educate our children, we need to educate our generations, our students, about how we can be better at fixing ourselves, because again, education is about life. So if you're only concerned about curricular activities, if you're only concerned about sticking to textbooks, then I do not think that we might be providing the correct amount of education that is actually needed by the people around the world, and not just my country, not just your country, but people from countries, because again, we are not the only countries in the world that are facing all of these problems. There are other countries who might not be able to talk about it today as well. So here's a statistical thing that I took out, which says that the suicide rate in Pakistan stands at 76.5% for males and 23.5% for females due to academic pressure. Now that a lot of people might be taking their lives, unfortunately, because they might be stressed of something else. They might have a mental disorder. They could have problems like schizophrenia. They could have problems like bipolar disorder. But again, what is the problem over here is that academic pressure is not a mental issue. It's just affecting your mental health very negatively. So the concerning thing over here is that when academic pressure is not a mental disorder, then why is it that more and more people every day are committing suicides? Why is it that university students have a problem choosing majors because they're forced to get into, let's say, literature, let's say getting into engineering or getting into becoming a doctor? Why not other majors? Why is it that parents who belong from other generations, or grandparents who belong from other generations, or even teachers who belong from other generations are not focusing on why children might be taking their lives, and only focusing on how we can force children to sticking to textbooks? I know it's something very hard to swallow. I mean, it's a very hard pill to swallow, that it would be, a step towards stopping people to sticking to textbooks, because again, it's a very important aspect of life, and without education, I don't think we will be able to develop properly. But again, what's the point of all this development when we are not able to surround ourselves with healthy people who have a healthy mind, who are happy, who are more contented towards what they're doing, who put more of their effort rather than being forced into putting themselves into something, right? So here's a diagram that I took out where we're going to be talking about stress and how chronic pain can be seen as a disorder in which recurrent causal loop keeps the network in a disordered state. So what basically happens is that this diagram explains how pain basically leads to stress and anxiety, then to sustained stress and neuroplasticity, and then more pain. Now, what usually happens is that when we are having our exams, or when we're about to have exams, most of the students face panic attacks. Most of the students have stomach aches. A lot of students have headaches. We take this as less a concerned area, because we think that maybe staying up all night and studying for the exam might be the reason why we are having all of these aching things. But again, it's not because of that. It's because of stress. It's because of fear. It's because of behavioral changes that are taking places inside you. I would also like to mention over here that sometimes when you're having, when you're having the shortness of breath, when you're having a sense of fear inside you, all the things in your body, all the hormones in your body that might be leading to stress are triggered. And that is where we need to focus, that it's the stress that is generating all of this. And it's not yes, we may be physically tired, but again, mostly it's your stress hormones that lead to more sustained stress. And that is just a learning pattern that we're developing with age. If we learn to be stressed about our exams, if we learn to be stressed about whatever we are encountering and take that as, a stress factor, and we are unaware about it because it might be there in some part of our unconscious or in our subconscious. So again, I would like to mention that it's very important to understand what actually leads to stress. What is it that is actually all right? So again, coming to a very important point, how does academic pressure build our our personality? So one of the few things is we can face a lot of psychological problems, physiological problems. A lot of people are always called aliens and antisocials as well, because they're not socializing, they're not getting and involving with a lot of people because they're just too much focused on their academics again. And there is a lot of decreased motivation as well. People, because they're not getting into extracurricular activities, they are focusing too much on academics and too much curriculum based activities. They do not feel like doing something else. If I am interested in writing and I'm too much focused on my studies, I might not be interested in writing anymore because it could be because of a lot of physiological problems, that is loss of sleep, bad health, bad appetites, and other physiological symptoms that result as an effect of academic pressure, and that also develops low self-esteem. Now, here's a very important thing that we need to remember. I would like to just sum up because again, the more I talk about it, the more we get into the deep details. Our expectation as teachers, as parents, is to yield 100% student satisfaction. But what do we get? We get 0% student satisfaction because, again, we're forcing students into education, and that is not what education means. Our main focus should be to put students into a happy state so they're more encouraged towards learning and less towards just memorizing, right? So, again, self-harm and suicide. What is wrong with me? Everything's wrong with me as far as I'm not concerned about my mental health. So it's very important to understand that whenever you go into a fight or flight mode, whenever your adrenaline, your cortisol, and norepinephrine, gets into your body, awakes kind of. So it's very important to understand that things like these could be happening. Okay, so here's my call on busting your stress, and here's how you can do it. You can always try creative arts. This is the last part. So you can always try creative arts, which is to say that actually de-stresses. You could pick up on a hobby. If you like to walk, if you like to listen to music, you could do that, because coloring helps a lot. That's a therapy that you can do. You can take a nap, and sometimes when it's hard to sleep, you can always meditate, right? You can take a break from academics. Try explaining your teachers and your parents that it's not always the books that you need to stick to. You could maybe do an activity in your class with your peers. You could, again, the fourth and most important thing is you could call a friend. You could call someone who's very close to you, because again, you will be able to speak your feelings out. So I would like to end this over here, and I believe that my talk has had an impact on everyone, and my fellows who are just teenagers, who are not even teenagers, might be parents, might be teachers, or might be just staff members, or just people. You need to be more human to understand human behavior. And where is human behavior generated from? It's the mind. It's more important to stick to your mental health and not to just books. So people who are around you, you might be feeling they're having a bad attitude, and from a bad attitude, I do not mean to say that they might be acting negatively. I also mean to say they could be having a behavioral issue, not being able to pay attention, or not being able to, rejoice in activities that are there in life. So please help them out and make sure that they're happy from the inside and not just happy from the outside. So thank you very much for listening to me, and for paying so much attention, and for being so patient. I hope that you all are happy. And if there's anything that you would ever like to talk about, I'm going to mention my number over here, and I'm going to mention my email, so you can always get back to me, and I'll always help you positively as I can. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for your helpful and excellent talk. And we would like to ask you to write the names of your books you have written, and you're obviously very expert in this matter. So moving on, we would remind everyone that the numbers of local helplines can be found on the Child Helpline International website, or just Google your country and Child Helpline. Please don't struggle alone when there is help out there, and there is no need to feel ashamed of struggling. A quarter of the world is having mental health problems at any one time, so there is no need to be embarrassed or ashamed about it. So do please seek help. So moving on, now we welcome a young man from the far west in the west of the United States of America, who is another great genius with bioengineering. This time, he will be sharing with us ideas about managing resilience for better mental health. Thank you and welcome, Christian.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm glad to be here, although I came in a little late. So yeah, I'll be talking about the importance of resilience and coping mechanisms. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay. So today I'm going to be talking about the importance of resilience and coping mechanisms, specifically using the example of Kakuma camp in Kenya, in a country in Africa. So we start off with the different problems that students have to face specifically, because less than 1% of students make it to higher education, which then makes it so that they waste their lives in the camp, and making them unable to leave the camp and pursue other fields and advancements in their professional, social, and personal lives. Schools have scarce resources because of this as well, because funding is not completely distributed for things that are super important, like education. That's why they can't make it to higher education. There isn't enough funding to provide them with the education necessary at their grade level. So it's quite impossible for them to reach above their grade level without advancing funding and educational provisions. Internet availability is also low, which makes it much more impossible for them to learn about the world around them, and it keeps them stuck in sort of a bubble where they are on their own in the camp because of the fact that they are unable to reach the outside world in different forms because internet availability is low. In the sense that there isn't enough funding for their area, a lot of different resources are much more scarce than other more developed areas, for example, countries in the West. That's why it's super important to make sure that resilience and coping mechanisms are utilized to combat these problems by these students, because these solutions to these problems are yet to come. So they must be able to live life with these conditions and pursue their education in the best way possible. Some resilience and coping mechanisms include storytelling, maximizing what you have, and not being afraid to reach out. Storytelling is a coping mechanism because it allows students and people in general to be able to understand their world, the world around them, and be able to provide lessons, stories, things like that to younger generations and to other people. So it provides a sense of community, comfort, and realization of humanity, because a lot of the time they feel as if the people there feel as if it will never get better. So by having these coping mechanisms, they will be able to have hope and eventually pursue a life beyond the struggles and constraints of their current situations. So it's important to maximize what you have as well, because even when you are stuck at that low point in your life that you assume is the opposite of your peak, it's important to understand that what you have now is much better than what you used to have. For example, let's say you get an influx of money, and let's say you were homeless and then you get an influx of money by somebody. That's maximizing what you have, because you want to make sure that you appreciate the opportunity that you've been given, and appreciate and understand that at least I'm better off than before. Because it's important to build hope, and building hope is crucial in the sense of having resilience, because resilience is just a manifestation of your hope. And it's important to not be afraid to reach out as well, because of all of these problems, having a method to deal with your problems and to be able to talk about it, like a lot of the other presenters have spoken about, is very important to reach out to professional help. And in this particular case in Kakuma camp, there aren't professional health professors and experts, things like that. So that's why it's super important to, even if you're not reaching out professionally because you physically can't, at least reach out to a friend or a parent, things like that, a trusted presence in your life, to be able to fully maximize upon what you have, and also understand that resilience is super important, and that it's a manifestation of your hope, and that hope can't be diminished, only grown. So that's why you need to be able to have these coping mechanisms to keep your resilience high as you'd keep your self-esteem high, for example. So overall, a main message is that anyone can thrive no matter where they come from. With resilience and the right amount of coping mechanisms, you're able to push through any problem and any obstacle that you have in your life to be able to further your intellectual availability and abilities, as well as your social abilities, by being able to integrate into your society and all of that sort of thing. Like the people in Kakuma Camp, Kenya, they don't know anything different. So they always have to maximize what they have, because it's the only thing they've ever known. So that's why it shows us a great deal of appreciating what we have, because we know that other people have less, and that at least they can be happy regardless of what they have. So no matter where because a lot of the people here actually go on, not a lot of them, but few go on and actually go to Western countries and go to places like Canada and the US for college and university, depending upon how exactly, because obviously the only way that they could have gotten there was because of resilience and hoping, and pushing through and having a good work ethic and working hard for it, because as long as you want it enough, you can get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian. And that was really inspiring and helpful. So we still have some excellent Ask You presentations to complete our forum. And again, from the USA, Emily Meeks and Tanisha Thomas are co-founders of Focus Minds Education Group, founded in 2018 and headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. As retired educators and now school mental health advocates, Emily and Tanisha are committed to supporting the well-being of adolescents and adults. Focus Minds Education Group facilitates meaningful and impactful professional learning workshops to organizations globally that promote growth, resiliency, and wellness for all. To continue expanding their reach and the methods of advocacy, we joined forces with Heal Be Live. Heal Be Live is a for-profit company founded in 2017 that uses art to start conversations in community. Morgan Breon holds 4 degrees from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, dual masters in social work and education policy, and dual bachelors in psychology and English. Morgan's core passion is fostering healing and support for underrepresented youth and young adults. Welcome to you all. I will hand over to you now.
Hi, Morgan. Would you like to start?
Good morning. Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever anyone is. I think Emily's gonna project our presentation, or I can, whichever works best.
Morgan, it would be nice if you could project it.
Okay,
that'd be awesome.
No problem at all. Just give me a moment to upload this. Present my screen. Okay, let's all hope for the best.
You have this, Morgan.
Work? Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, so hi, I'm Emily Meeks, and we wanted to speak about the impact that trauma and mental health have on education. My company, Focus Minds Education Group, we're certified educators, change agents. We do have instructional support, professional learning, and we offer expressive writing courses for students. We are mental health first aid certified, and at the top tier of everything else, we are humanitarians, and our goal is to use literacy to build skills and heal at the same time. If you would like to scan the QR code to get more information about us and what we do, and to connect with us, please do. And you'll find other resources there as well. So let's get started. I really enjoyed listening to the presentations, and everyone has shared some very valuable information. One of the things that we like to do in our presentations is take a moment to just breathe. We can go to the next slide.
Okay. Let's see. 1 second. There we go.
Okay, so our biggest thing is self-care is not selfish, and we want to make sure that everyone is taking a moment to be mindful. We like to call this a mindful minute. This is your mental state, and it can be achieved by focusing your awareness on the present moment, acknowledging where you are, accepting your feelings and thoughts and your bodily sensations, and use that to help you cope and to help you also ground yourself. So we can all do this together, but one of the things we talk about is implementing the box breathing method. If you can see the kids in the picture, you know, they were kind of engaged in a moment of doing this box breathing method to kind of ground themselves during one of our sessions. So you want to breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, release for 4 counts, inhale for 4 counts again, release for 4 counts again, and definitely repeat those steps as needed. But just listening to everyone, again, globally and from around the world, this is something when you're having that moment, you know, when you're feeling stuck or when something is going on, it just helps to recenter you and to change your thinking in that moment. So that's one of the interventions that you can use. Next slide, please, Morgan. So journaling is huge. When you think about the impact that writing has, and I heard someone else speak about this, about just relieving stress, but journaling can also help you in many other ways. Setting goals, being self-reflective, boosting your creativity, like I said, relieving stress, reducing some of the symptoms of trauma, improving your mood, and improving your memory. You know, writing down how you feel and being intentional is essential to building that resilience. And so any moment that you have that you can sit down and just write out your thoughts. You know, it could be a letter that you write in your journal. It could be just some notes. It doesn't have to necessarily be formatted in any way. Just as long as you're releasing those emotions and those thoughts on paper, it can be very therapeutic to help improve and change your mood. So those are some things that you can implement on your own, at home, by yourself to kind of help you cope and build those resilient skills. So I'm going to turn it over to Morgan, and she's going to talk to you about how to take that writing and how the arts can also support you and to heal.
Thank you so much, Emily. And thank you all so much again for this wonderful introduction. As Emily mentioned, my name is Morgan Brian, and I've got a lot to cover, so my words are going to be quick. And I am the founder of He'll Be Live LLC, which is a for-profit company based in Metro Detroit that uses art to start conversations in community. So we are self-proclaimed artivists, which is art plus activism with a passion for hope and healing. So we use art as a basis for our advocacy work for a variety of reasons, but our main two reasons are because art can provide a very low risk entry point into topics that may feel overwhelming or threatening, especially if you're approaching them head on. But also creative methods can help individuals to get out of their head during the healing process, which can bring out matters that may not otherwise be free to surface if we're simply relying on logic or memory or intellect, especially for those who I often work with who have some level of stigma around mental wellness, therapy, or just getting help in general. So today, what we're going to do is two brief activities. I'm going to show you two brief activities that demonstrate ways that creativity can help a person check in, and you're going to hear me say that a lot, with themselves, and also process what they may be feeling and or reconnect themselves with the world around them. So if you like to, or if you want to, you can grab a sheet of paper and something to write with, or open a document with your computer to type. Again, this is just a brief overview or introduction, but I'll talk about resources at the end that you can purchase if you want to explore this method a bit more. So the first thing is a sensory poem, which is actually a method that is used in many creative therapies, especially for individuals who are diagnosed with dissociative disorder. But this is also a very helpful activity for anyone that may struggle with staying present in the moment, someone who may constantly be revisiting the past and or constantly worrying about the future, which I'm sure nobody on this call has any experience with. So the term sensory poem is actually based on the word senses, as in the 5 senses. So as we get in the practice of checking in with ourselves, we can run through our 5 senses. And you can do this anywhere because your senses are always with you. And you can use these senses as a way to reconnect with the world around you. So for example, if I were using a sensory poem to gauge a young person's experience or views around the pandemic, I might prompt them with each of the 5 senses that you see listed on the screen and just see what comes up. So I'll perform a little example for you. So the pandemic looks like foggy glasses when my mask is too high on my nose. The pandemic sounds like the news on repeat when constantly telling me to wear a mask. The pandemic smells like perfume I wore yesterday that's still lingering on my cloth mask. The pandemic tastes like dry fabric blocking my mouth. The pandemic feels like tight rubber bands pulling on my ears because they're keeping my mask on my face. So this activity, as I hope you can see or hear, helps a person push more into what their nuanced experiences are around a particular topic, while also forcing them to get out of their head and reflect on how their body is interacting with the world and ultimately reality, but beyond that, their present reality. So another thing I might do in reflecting back with the client is to note the patterns, right? So as you probably heard, the word mask came up a lot. So I may push into this a bit more to find out find that for this person, the most difficult part of the pandemic is how restricted or uncomfortable they feel with the mask or by the mask. And then we may explore why. But this method may get us more details and more information rather than simply asking, how is the pandemic going for you? Which you still can, but now you've done a low risk activity that has also guided them into the therapeutic process. So at some point today, I invite you all to check in with your 5 senses. You can pick a topic and or survey what you're experiencing in that present moment. And for those of us who may not be able to engage all 5 of our senses, then the directive would be to push into the other 5 senses more intently, or really reflect on the experience of not being able to engage that sense. So for example, one of the symptoms of COVID is a loss of taste. So when speaking to one of my family members about how they felt about this experience, they said that their experience tasted like constantly chewing bland metal. So I might invite them to talk a little bit more about what that experience is like, how they feel about it, what other methods they've used to kind of engage that taste, et cetera, et cetera. So now the second activity, one of my favorites, is called the emotion color wheel, which is another great way to check in with yourself or the others around you without feeling pressured to have a long conversation in order to articulate one's feelings. Sometimes people don't know how they're feeling just by simply asking them, especially someone who's experiencing depression or out of touch with themselves or their own emotions. So this activity, again, can be a creative, low pressure way to talk about emotions and feelings. Now, there is a difference between emotions and feelings. We won't go into that, but for the purpose of this presentation, I'll be using them interchangeably. So in order to do the color wheel, as seen here, you start with the wheel of various colors. You can create your own or search online for a blank color wheel or one that is already filled in with different emotions. Now, if you use a blank color wheel, then what you would do is to write in an emotion for each color that reflects how you respond to that color or how that color makes you feel. So for example, you see the word yellow, the color yellow has the word excited in it. Or maybe the color red makes someone feel energized, or the dark blue makes someone feel sad, while the light blue makes someone feel calm. So every day, or as often as you check in with the color wheel, you can do what we call a color wheel check-in. And this is a simple sentence that gives a simple structure to processing your emotions. So for example, today my color is yellow, which means I feel excited because I get to present for the SUNFO International Good Health and Wellbeing Workshop. So all in all, these are just 2 brief activities that you can create or do on your own to help get out of your head or help with overthinking and really ground yourself in the present moment and get into the practice of actively thinking about how you are feeling and why. So I have this slide right here. If you're interested in a resource that can offer a creative way to engage in self-reflection and healing, you can visit our website, www.healbelive.com/store, to purchase a book of poems and its companion workbook that I authored last year titled A Refugee of Me, which uses poetry to guide readers through activities around topics of depression, self-harm, friendships, and goal setting to help someone take steps towards the future. You can also visit our website to learn more about our creative theater projects and how to bring one of our projects to your community or organization to engage groups and facilitate a dialogue. So I hope I said all that pretty quickly and pretty swiftly. Thank you all so much again, and I'll pass it on to whomever is going to take it away from me.
Yes, I just want to say quickly, thank you guys as well for inviting us. And as Morgan stated, you can follow our website, www.focusmindsedugroup.com. I did put it in the chat to learn more about what we do and provide professional learning workshops to your community and organizations as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for that really helpful and practical seminar. That was really valuable, and we encourage everyone to use the resources that have been signposted. And we are very lucky to have such an amazing group of professionals and young voices today. And we have left one of the best until last as a treat before you leave. Okay, I'm really sorry. So before that, we have a speaker, and I would like to invite and welcome Dr. Abdullah Halal, and he's a leader practitioner in Abu Dis Clinic in East Jerusalem, which is outside the separation wall from Jerusalem City, and he will present about the specific difficulties living in an occupied area that is faced by Palestinian doctors, especially in the time of COVID-19. Welcome, Dr. Abdullah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. Good evening, and I am very sorry because I was late, but I think you know what does it mean to be a doctor in these times. I really was very busy. I was trying to find a place for a COVID patient because here in Palestine, the situation is very, very bad. Of course, to talk about health situation in Palestine, we need hours or days, but I will try to give you a brief information about what is happening here in Palestine and about the health situation here. As you know, Palestine has been occupied in 1967, and since this time the Israeli authorities has been trying to change the fact on the ground. So they started first to confiscate lands and build settlements around Palestinian cities and villages. And then they started to put checkpoints between Palestinian cities. And then they divided West Bank from Jerusalem and from Gaza Strip by checkpoints and by a separation wall. And Oslo Agreement has divided West Bank to 3 areas. Area A, where it is under the Palestinian authorities' control. Area B, where is administratively it's under Palestinian authorities, but security is under Israeli control. And Area C, it's all under Israeli control. Area C is about 62% from the whole West Bank. That means that we can't use this area to build hospitals, schools, houses, or for even agriculture. I live in an area in Abu Dis town. It's a part of Jerusalem. And the distance between Abu Dis and Jerusalem Center usually takes 5 minutes in a car. But after 2006, when the Israeli government finished building the wall between my town and Jerusalem, it became very difficult to reach Jerusalem. So we were separated from reaching hospitals, our works, and even churches and mosques in the city. This area where I live, Abu Dis, and the neighborhood towns became without any health facilities. So we didn't have hospitals or good medical centers, places where patient can do dialysis, or centers for diabetic patients or for patients with cancers. So the situation here became a disaster, really. Since that time, many people died while they were trying to cross through checkpoints to reach hospitals in Jerusalem. Many ladies gave birth at checkpoints, and patients didn't find any place to go and to get their treatment, because we are separated from Jerusalem by separation wall, and from other cities by Israeli checkpoints. So this area became as a prison. In this area lives about 120,000 population, and they are without hospital. So in 2008, we decided we managed to open a small emergency clinic with just 4 beds and 1 delivery room. It was very helpful, and it helps people. But of course, we find difficulties to continue work because of the financial problems that we have to manage this clinic. And you can imagine how it became difficult with COVID pandemic. So we find it difficult to refer patient to hospitals. I am one from the team doctors that go and visit patient in their houses, because to arrange them a place in hospitals, sometimes it takes 4 to 7 days. Many people died while they were just waiting for a place in hospitals. To go to Jerusalem hospitals, it's very difficult. First of all, we call the hospital to see if there is any place or any free bed. Then we wait the answer. If they tell us that there is a place, they send patients information to the Israeli side. The Israeli side checks if this patient is allowed to get a permission to pass through checkpoint that is between us and Jerusalem, and half of the patients are refused by security reasons. For example, my grandmother was 88 years old, and she was not allowed to go to Jerusalem by ambulance because she is refused by security reasons. And they say that means that she is a terrorist. That what they say, the Israelis. That means lucky patient needs about 2 hours to be referred to hospitals in Jerusalem. And for example, to refer it to other hospitals in the West Banks, usually they need to cross checkpoints between West Bank cities, and sometimes this takes about hours. 14 years old child died in the ambulance while she was waiting to pass through this checkpoint. So with this usually this is happening with and without COVID. But now with the COVID, they refused to send any patient to Jerusalem hospitals because he is a COVID patient, and they don't allow any COVID patient to go to the hospitals in Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is under their control. Other things that we have here, that people refuse to do swabs or a COVID test, because if they do it and if they became positive, then they will not be allowed, not just them and not just they and their relatives, to go to Jerusalem for work and or to get treatment. So I think this is what we called apartheid of medicine. This is a new kind of apartheid that didn't happen even in South Africa. A patient with COVID is not allowed to go to the hospital. For example, today I was very busy just to find a place for a COVID patient in any hospitals. We found a place in Jerusalem Hospital, and after 4 hours, the Israeli agreed to refer him to the hospital. Now, just 5 minutes ago, they called me and they told it's very difficult. They refused again. So the patient will stay at his house, waiting what will happen. Of course, patient with a very in a very critical situation. This time, 7 people died in my town, Abu Dis, while they were waiting for a bed in any hospital. And I think you all know what is the feeling that any person can have when any one of us, when you look at a patient and you don't know what to do for him, and what can you or how can you help him. So in my town, we decided to do 2 things. First, we managed to do a fundraising campaign to buy oxygen generators for patients who don't find a place. So we visit him in their house, we measure their oxygen level, and if they need oxygen, we give them one of these oxygen concentrators and oxygen cylinder. And other thing, in our medical center, we managed to establish a small room for COVID patients who need, for example, intravenous treatment, or who needs nebulizer or other type of treatment that we cannot do it in their houses. So when we talk about the health situation, sorry to say that, but we see that the situation will become worse and worse, because now the Israelis are planning, or they have started to build a wall around whole my town. So my town will be surrounded by a separation wall, and we will be in a prison with 2 checkpoints. Anytime the Israelis can open it or close it. They can decide who will die or who will stay alive. They can decide who will go to school or who will be who couldn't go to school, who can go to work or who can't go to his work. as I mentioned before, to talk about health situation, it's very difficult. And I think that we need a whole day to talk about other areas. I was just explaining about my area, not about all areas in Palestine, in Gaza Strip, in Hebron, or in Bedouin communities. I was just, or in Jordanian valleys, because there is, the situation there is more difficult than in my town. So this is what I can say about it. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and hope to have other meeting that we can talk more about the details about the health situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah, for introducing us to the increasing difficulties faced in one of the world's most challenging regions. And thank you for joining us amid your busy schedule. So moving on, we're very lucky to have such an amazing group of professionals and young voices today. And we have left one of the best until last as a treat before you leave. And Kirti Soni is a passionate humanitarian living in London who uses his skills as a psychoanalyst to help and support those in need. She set up the COVID-19 mental health support Facebook group early last year, which now has well over 2,000 members of both professionals and those in need, where people can freely ask questions and get support in many different ways. Kirti, over to you, and for our last and definitely not the least session of the forum.
Kirti, you need to unmute.
It did say unmute and then it came back up again. So keeps going on and off. Anyway, I'll start again. Thank you, Menuri, for the wonderful welcome and the introduction. And thank you, Linda, for this kind invitation, and to the rest of the organizers of this wonderful conference. It's been absolutely amazing. I had thought that I would be able to get on with other stuff while the conference was going on. Impossible, because every aspect of this conference was so riveting. And I've had it playing on live on Clubhouse so that all the community of Clubhouse can hear it live while it's going. So that's been running over there. And then on this side, I've also been posting things on Facebook saying, guys, you need to listen to this, tune in. So it's been going, but I haven't been able to stop because each and every contributor on here was amazing. So well done, Linda and team. That was absolutely amazing. Now, my remit, back to my remit, which is to leave us all on some kind of a high with some practical exercises in managing our mental health. So here goes. First things first, we cannot manage our mental health until we have a handle on our physical health. And I'm sure the good doctor and everybody else will, vouch for that, that until we've got a handle on our physical well-being, our mental health being is going to get impacted. So the first things we hear whenever anyone says about managing your physical or mental health is, do you eat well? Do you sleep well? Do you get some exercise? And what I'm hearing from a lot of people now is they're getting tired of hearing that message, because we hear it all the time. We give it all the time. It's in magazines, it's in newspapers, it's on all sorts of webinars. It's coming at us from everywhere. And it just seems as if we've become immune to it. We haven't become immune to COVID, but we've become immune to the message on managing our physical health. But I'm going to give a very simple analogy. Just imagine that you've purchased the car of your dreams, be that a high-performing Lamborghini or a high-performing Aston Martin, or maybe something that I often dream of, which is an old Land Rover. And a few of the people from Kenya might be interested to hear this, that I was actually born in Kenya. I have unfortunately and sadly never been back there, but it is on my to-do list. But my favorite memory of Kenya, I was under 5 when we came here, but it's of being taken out on the back of a Land Rover out into those wide open savannas by one of our uncles, and just standing on the back of that open Land Rover. And of course I was being held, but just that sheer joy. So for me, the dream car would be one of those old Land Rovers and driving through a savannah in Kenya somewhere. But imagine you've been given this car and it's come from the garage or wherever it's come from, and it's running like a dream. It's working perfectly. Then you're driving it every day. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're putting in petrol and you're keeping it going. You're doing all the basics. But then after a while, little parts of it start not necessarily breaking down, but the performance is not as good as it was. Now that simple beginning of that is what we're doing to our bodies. We're putting in the petrol. We're having our 3 meals a day. Yeah. Everybody's telling us, did you have some fruit? Did you have this? Did you have that? And we're like, yes, I did. So sometimes maybe we're even skipping a meal and we're saying, yeah, okay, I skipped breakfast. Okay, what are you going to do? So we're getting a little bit blasé about it. But what we don't realize is that all of these things are adding up. All of these skipping meals, all of these, okay, so today I didn't have fruit, I'll have it tomorrow. Can you not keep going on about it? But what we're doing is we're adding up all the little bits that are going to eventually impact on our functioning, not just our bodily functioning, but our mental health functioning, because we're not going to be that prime machine. We're not going to be that super machine that we took delivery of the first day that our vehicle arrived. And this doesn't just mean, make sure you have your greens and your proteins and your vegetables. It doesn't just mean have all the stuff that has nutritional value. It means also have the things that feed your soul. So it can have absolutely zero nutritional value, but if it's something that actually feeds your soul, like for example, on my desk, I have treats. I have treats because sometimes you just need to take a moment out when nothing is falling into place. You're feeling in a bit of a low, there's a bit of a lull, and it's a mixture of treats. I'll actually show you. It's a basket. Okay. And so in this basket, I have bits of fruit to keep my children happy so that they think, oh yeah, I'm having fruit. But more importantly, I have things like chocolate, which is not too much of, but more important than that, I have this, which is, I don't know if any of you know this, but these are savory little Indian crisp type things. They're called chakri. And look how small they are. They have no nutritional value. They're deep fried, and just a couple of these sticks with a cup of tea will get me writing down somebody's mental health analysis or working through whatever symptoms they had. I might be stuck, but just a couple of these with a bit of tea and it'll get me going again. No nutritional value at all, but it feeds my soul. So have something that feeds your soul. It doesn't have to be your 5 fruit and veg a day. Obviously, you've got to have those, but have something in your daily routine, in your lifestyle that feeds your soul. So that's the one thing, physical, eating, drinking well. The second thing that I'm going to touch on is another bugbear of mine and a lot of people I know, which is exercise. Exercise. You either love it or you hate it. I can be taken to exercise, and just like you take a horse to water, I can be made to drink a little bit of it, but, you know, push me beyond my boundaries and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to sit downstairs in the sauna. You guys join me later. And my tormentors are my 3 children, because all 3 of them are gym bunnies. I don't know where they get it from, because neither my husband nor I are gym bunnies. We're really comfortable on the sofa. So I don't know where they get it from. But exercise. Now, if you are like us and it's really not your bag, you're really not, you know, leotards and, you know, those skinny leggings things, then do whatever. Again, it goes back down to do whatever feeds your soul. So if those, you know, running around in a tight leotard and tight leggings is not your thing, which is definitely not for us, then my husband likes to go for a walk, but we don't walk together because he walks fast. And, you know, I like to take in the neighborhood and nature and walk leisurely. Plus I get out of breath if I walk as fast as him. So he goes for brisk walks. I might go for a slow stroll. If my daughter's here, we might take the dog for a walk, but otherwise walking is a leisurely thing for me. It's not exercise. But what is exercise for me is a little bit of dancing. And I can do that any time of the day or night, you know, even if it's just 10 minutes, like if I've got a 10-minute break between clients, if the last client has been particularly like heavy, I could just put on some music and I could just move around, and that will get it out of me. That will get it out of my body, whatever it is, whatever the angst is, or whatever the, you know, whatever I've been left with after anything. That's the movement, that's the exercise, and that releases all the vital hormones that need to be released inside you. So it doesn't have to be great, amazing exercise, guys. Another thing which I also keep in my drawer, which Dorf from Malaysia will vouch for because she saw me doing this on another workshop, is I keep here in my desk drawer. When the world was open, we used to attend workshops and seminars where people always, you know, corporations gave out these amazing stress balls. Don't know if you guys have them, but I keep them in my drawer so that even if I can't move around, then I've got these stress balls, which you can just, and again, you can move at your desk, or you can bounce them against the wall, or you can bounce them on the floor. But either way, you've got these, and doing the juggling with these actually works your eyes, works your mind, works your coordination. And again, the release that you get on your mental health from doing this kind of stuff is priceless. So, and you can do that in between, like I do in between clients, just to refresh myself for my next client and clear my brain. And you know, you get all the movements. So coordination, everything, it just gets you ready for the next bit. Or even if you're not even seeing clients, just gets you moving and gets you doing stuff. Now the third one that we're always being told about is sleep. There have been countless studies on sleep and on the benefits of sleep, and yet we find we are all still sleep deprived. We still keep hearing reports that people are not getting back enough sleep, people are not getting enough rest, and it's leading to secondary health problems like stress-related problems, heart problems, leading to premature strokes. So many young people are getting strokes now, and that's again because of the sleep deprivation. So going back again to our analogy of the car, with the functioning, how many studies have you heard of where there are reports that the cars needed their brake pads and things changing? We hear so many reports where accidents happen because the brake pads weren't changed. And all of this comes down to, again, if we compare it to human beings, we're not putting the brakes on our lives. We're not taking the time out. We're not taking the rest that we need to take. So again, if you can find something that is impacting your sleep pattern, only you will know what's impacting your sleep pattern. if your sleep pattern is that you sleep for 4 hours, but you wake up fully refreshed and recharged, and then you can keep going, but then you keep going the full cycle and don't go back to bed again until the night time, then that's not good, because you're only getting 4 hours sleep a night. You do need 6 to 8 hours. All the studies show that you need 6 to 8 hours. So if your sleep pattern is just 4 hours and then you keep going for the rest of the day and the evening, it's not good. Factor in somewhere where you can take another siesta, or you can catch another hour's kip at least in between, so that you can get up to 6 hours a day. If your sleep pattern is disrupted, either because you're thinking about something, or you've got some situation going on in your life, or you've got something that you can't put a handle on it, take some time out to work out what is it that is causing me to lose sleep. If you don't have a specific thing that you can pinpoint, try and ask the people around you. See if anybody else can help you work it out. And I say that again, speaking from experience, because after I'd lost my mum, I thought I had a handle on it, because we knew mum was ill, we knew what direction everything was going in. And, you know, I'm in the trade, so we know about grief and bereavement, we know all about the stages of grief, we know about processing. So I just couldn't understand why my sleep was being impacted. And normally when I'm having sleepless nights because either of work or, you know, any other things going on, I use something which is lavender candles. And at that time, nothing was working. Not the lavender candles, not the Horlicks, not the exercising, not the relaxing bath before bedtime. Nothing was working. And then eventually it was actually my daughter who pinpointed it. She said, it's probably the ongoing effect of you still missing Ba. Ba is, that's what in India, in Gujarati, children call their grandmother. And she came up with a very simple solution, actually. She said, why don't you put on some Vicks? Put on a little bit of Vicks, because that's what my mom used to put on before going to bed every night. And so that was the fragrance that I associated with her and sleep and bedtime, and it worked a treat. So whatever it is that's impacting your sleep pattern, whether it's a financial worry, a personal worry, or a worry that you can't pinpoint, but you know you're losing sleep, ask somebody around you. Maybe somebody else can put a finger on it, but get to the root source. Because if you don't get to the root source, this is going to have a severe impact on your mental health. And we know that those stresses do lead to early stroke, do lead to early heart attacks. And then last not least, we need to connect. We need to connect with ourselves first. And by that, I mean, have an awareness of yourself, have an awareness of, like I said, the foods that nurture your soul, have an awareness of the exercise that actually speaks out to you, have an awareness of things that are impacting on your sleep that only you can deal with, you know, not a cup of Horlicks necessarily. And then finally, the connectedness. The connectedness has to at first be with yourself, because if we're not connected with ourselves, we can't connect with others. So your first port of connection has to be with yourself. And whether you use prayer to do that connection, whether you do meditation, whether you do painting or going for a walk, or just sitting alone, just sitting by yourself in quiet contemplation, whatever it is, you need to connect with yourself. Once you have connected with yourself, the other key component to keeping yourself mentally healthy and mentally positive is to connect with other human beings. Without that other human contact, we as human beings have almost zero chance of staying mentally positive, because as human beings, we have a need to connect with other human beings. And this pandemic has shown us how that loss of connectedness, those periods of lockdown, the self-isolation, the toll on people's mental health from all this year of lockdowns and self-isolation, the impact that's had on people's mental health is going to go on and be felt for many years. And for each of us to not fall into that trap, it's important that we maintain that external connection with friends, with family, either by phone, by text, by WhatsApp, by smoke signals, if that's working for you. But whatever method you use, stay connected. So there you have it, the 4 pointers, eat well, exercise well, sleep well, and stay connected. But each of those 4 points, do it in a way that speaks to your soul, in a way that suits you. And that's all for me today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful ending session. And I'm sure we all have something helpful to take home with us. So coming to the end, I hope you all agree that while it has been a long afternoon or evening, it has been very worthwhile, and we are very grateful to all of those who have given of their precious time freely. Please do check out these resources which have been shared on the chat and in the presentation. Please do connect with each other professionally and share ideas and join us on our LinkedIn and Facebook pages under SUNFO, Sri Lanka United Nations Friendship Organization, International Children's Wing. We also want to thank the technical staff both before the forum, Ala Kabut and Stephen Muusha, as well as David Rose for his hard work today and keeping everything running as smoothly as possible. And I pass the meeting over to our chairperson, Madam Linda Rose, who many here in Sri Lanka and other countries do call Mother or Mama Linda, for the final words.
Thank you so much, and thank you for those who are still staying with us. It has been a long day, but I agree with Kirti. I mean, I've been riveted by all the speakers, and I feel so deeply thankful for people's time. There's been messages coming, and one message that has consistently come through is to thank our wonderful host and compere, Menuri Sachintha Kodikara, who is not only, I feel slightly guilty now because it's been so long, she has an exam tomorrow. So yes.
Oh gosh.
So she's going to put all these things into practice as well. But thank you so much, Sachintha. She doesn't just present this, she does so many other things as well, and she has really helped us when we're going, what do we do about this? And she's a lovely person and very humble, even with all that the whole room full of medallions and things that she's won. So thank you so much. I also want to thank very much Stephen Muusha from Kenya, and he organized for Abigail to join us, and that was really lovely. It was something we had missed, and we're very grateful for having Abigail signing for much of the forum. So we had a few people who we missed, sadly, but thank you so much to everybody. Please keep safe. And as we said, keep safe emotionally and physically, and let's be kind to each other, be kind to ourselves. And as we go forward, let's do our little bit to trying to make the world a safer, better and more equal place. And I thank you for joining. Do check out the resources, keep in touch on our pages. We are just going to put the last one of those Amaze videos because it was really excellent, but I was really nervous to elongate the session anymore. I thought in some countries you're very comfortable with long forums. In the West, they're very lazy and everybody likes it to be nicely finished in 1 hour. So people are clocking off already. So please stay for that last forum, for the last video, and we wish you well. And Sachintha, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Deshapriya, for the honor of being the international chairperson of the children's wing at the moment. I've something that's close to my heart to try my best to make this world a safer and fairer place, and through the Sustainable Development Goals. So keep your eyes on the next forum, which is going to be on equality, and we're going to take that very seriously. We're going to look at racism with Black Lives Matter, cause dear to my heart. We're going to look at gender. We're going to look at disability. We're going to look at gay rights and gender identity, and which is often forgotten, but very important, we're going to look at the economic injustices, which we looked at last forum as well, which is about, trying to make the world a fairer place by richer countries making tough decisions to share what they have. So please look out for those, and we wish you all well. Thank you so much.
Great, so I'll see you at 7.
Hey Alex, was that about Young Inventors Club? Tonight I'm unveiling my latest creation, the pizza taco. It's going to be incredible.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna tell you. I can't make it tonight. I'm actually going mini golfing with Maya Lee.
Maya Lee, student body president, first chair clarinet in stage band, black belt karate warrior. She's so cool. I didn't even know you were into that.
What, karate battles?
No, like dating. I mean, I hope it's okay to ask, but can your parts do stuff?
Actually, my parts work just fine. Just because I'm in a wheelchair, it doesn't mean I don't have crushes or feel attracted to people. In fact, no matter what our bodies can or can't do physically, people with disabilities have the same sexual and romantic feelings as anyone else.
And like anyone else, people with disabilities have various sexual orientations and gender identities too, from heterosexual to gay, cisgender to trans, across a full spectrum of sexuality.
But are relationships more difficult for people with disabilities?
Well, regardless of my physical ability, I want the same things from a healthy relationship as everyone. Respect, communication, consent, and fun. And like everyone, I sometimes have questions about relationships like, how do I know if someone's interested in me? How do I ask someone out? Or how do I turn someone down if I'm not interested?
Putting yourself out there and trying to date can make anyone feel nervous or scared. But the more you educate and understand yourself and your own value, the better you'll get at feeling confident in making healthy decisions.
There are certain issues that people with disabilities could be more likely to face. Sometimes, it can feel like parents are overprotective when it comes to dating. Or friends might not think of us in a romantic way because they don't understand that we have the same kinds of feelings. And there are some specific challenges that a person with disabilities might have to deal with. For example, if you had trouble communicating verbally, you'd have to find ways other than speech to express yourself or give consent, like using body language, adaptive devices, or pictures.
Think of it this way, everybody's body is different and needs help from time to time. And regardless of a person's physical ability, they can have the same feelings, hopes, and dreams as anyone.
Thanks guys, I think I get it now. Sorry I didn't understand before, Alex.
It's okay.
And you know what? I've got something that's going to make your date with Maya even more awesome. Bubble tea and vegetarian samosa.
Thanks, but were those in your pockets?
Just since this morning.
Ew.